evening and welcome to the another edition of the Championship Review. Yes, I'm back after my Easter break off, which I had a good time. I like to, thanks to my co-host who will get on shortly. But this is actually the penultimate weekend of the Championship. We've got next weekend is the final day of the season in the EFL Championship. We'll talk about some key games. We know that Leeds and Burnley have now been promoted. It's now for a battle for the playoffs and also down at the bottom of the table as well. Like I said, we've got loads to talk about, including games at Cardiff, between Cardiff against West Brom, Derby away to Hull City, Oxford against Sunderland, Plymouth Argyle going up to Lancashire to face Preston. And we'll talk about Friday's game between Stoke City and Sheffield United as well. And also, we might have a certain guest who wants to have a bit of banter at Coventry City after they were yesterday to Luton as well. Join us as usual. This is the Suspects. Good evening, Michael and Annie. How you guys doing?
Good morning to you too. As you're about to go.
Hello,
Yeah.
evening. Hello, listen, good morning where you are.
Yeah. Is it because you've been celebrating a bit too hard this week?
And I want to say as much as I have, it was more relief than celebration because I had to drive home the next day. I had to drive back to Edinburgh on Tuesday. So,
to be fair, I mean, if you haven't been enjoying it this week, then why would you be a football fan? You know what I mean?
There's a reason why I didn't do the Saturday show yesterday, because technically I was at a training event as a part of a union, not a trade union, but kind of union, but support people for rent to fight against rent and stuff.
No, that's fair enough. Don't worry, me and Annie just held the fort while you were while you were busy having family life and everything. Because
hey,
how dare you have a life outside of YouTube?
Oh, come on. Listen, family life is happy life, okay? Especially
absolutely.
when your mother actually said, "Carl, come home. I don't want you to be up by yourself for this Easter." So she's like, "I'll come."
I wonder what excuse. I wonder what excuse Ant's been having all season.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but no. Well, first of all, because it's the first time we've spoken since, so congratulations on getting promoted. I can imagine Monday was absolutely a fantastic day for you, especially when you were, watching the game and then just going through a TV screen going, "No, come on."
My mum witnesses because she could see how much she was there the whole time when I was watching it in the living room. I was like, please just get this promo. Please just get this.
That is literally going to be me across the next 4 weeks especially if we get the playoff final. And I love how you say penultimate weekend. Well, for me, for us, definitely not. Annie will be hoping it's not the penultimate weekend for us. Our seasons go on. We'll deal with that when you come to it, though. How are you, Annie? By the way,
I'm good. I'm sort of building up tension for tomorrow's game in a little way. Also not in a little way. Weird feeling, knowing that even if we do
your hands going into the final game, isn't it?
Even if we lose 15-0, as long as we beat Preston, it's all good.
You don't have a good record against us as well. That's the thing. I've looked at it. I think
Carl, I honestly so zoned out about previous records in history because
I know you are zoned out. I know
it's just sort of game by game by game. I'm literally looking at. I don't honestly. If
there's a reason why Michael posted the many faces of Andy Harris.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I think I randomly paused the video's vlog of the Sunderland game, and then I just paused and went, "That's too funny not to screenshot." and then the last image of him is like it's absolutely brilliant. But like I said, we could end up doing a good big preview on Annie's channel, or we just talk about Bristol City versus Sunderland potentially. But one more week left. We'll find out in 7 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we've got to get a guest with us tonight. And listen, we know he's not been in the best of moods the last couple of weeks, including yesterday. But we appreciate he's coming tonight and let him have his rant as well. I think he deserves it to have his say as well.
Explode with anger energy
tonight, and collateral damage. But hopefully we'll let him off the leash because it's actually fair, and especially there's been frustration for the last 14, 15 years or so up to that point. But yeah, let's say good evening to Nathan. Nathan, how you doing?
Very well, thanks, lads. Great to be back on, Carl. Great to see you again, Michael and Annie as well. Honestly, yeah, not happy, lads. Not happy, let's just say the least. But yeah, great to be back on. Great to talk Championship and great to talk about the absolute car crash that is Cardiff City Football Club and everything associated with it.
To be honest, what we said before we pretend we didn't have this conversation of it, but we said if you remove football, you're probably not too bad.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah,
and then as soon as the words Cardiff City get mentioned, you're like, right, I'm not okay anymore.
Mood swings straight away, lads.
Love it.
Well, we know what your pain's like. Well, maybe not as a Leeds fan as much, because I think some Leeds fans I've seen on Twitter in the last hour. So I think you just won an award or something at the EFL Awards. I'm like, what's the point, you know?
Yeah, somehow we won the Fan Engagement of the Year awards. Like, considering we have practically one of the worst owners in '92, we refuse to the owners refuse to communicate with the fans. The fan advisory board practically is just useless. It might as well just not be there. It's like having a mug with an inside handle, as far as I'm concerned, and it's just diabolical, isn't it? Like, just
have you lately just been describing Vincent Tan, a mug with an inside handle?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, as well. You could chuck him, Mehmet Delman and Ken Chu into the same mug as well, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh. Do you know, funny enough, actually, I remember I made this comparison before we started recording, but you know the film Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
It's starring Defon Chansiri and Vincent Tan. I'll leave people to decide which one's dumb and which one's dumber, because they're both going to compete for the Dumber Award, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to compete for the Dumber, actually, yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, so commiserations obviously for yesterday and anything, because we know, as I'm sure everyone on here knows, relegation absolutely effing sucks. So I can imagine it wasn't particularly great. I love the passion on your vlog, though. Like, it's one where, like I said to you, you being annoyed is quite entertaining, but at the same time, I did feel for you, because it's just like, when a lot of the things that have happened are just so self-inflicted from Vincent Tan, it's just, you just think to yourself, goodness me, how can one person be this stupid? How can one person be like, and he'll just go, hold my beer. We'll find new ways of being absolutely moronic. But yeah, no, commiserations.
Yeah, cheers. But honestly, like, the longer that he's been in the club, he's been in, 15 years now? Started off, obviously, with a stupid red rebrand. Everyone knows my thoughts on that. The comments under Malky Mackay, especially with the likes of Ian Moody and literally everything from there. And now it's just got to the point over the last 5 years where, since Neil Warnock, he's appointed 9 managers, which I think is absolutely ridiculous in 5 years. And it's got to the point now where he's literally refusing to hire any more, constantly going for the cheap options. He's now thrown 2 club legends under the bus, Mark Hudson and obviously now Aaron Ramsey, just because he doesn't want to pay off any more managers. It's just criminal. The club's just rotten from bottom to the top. Just self-inflicted all season. At the end of the day, Omar Reza, everyone knows my opinions on it. He should have never been given the job. Took 73 days to even permanently appoint him as well. Didn't interview a single manager in that time. Ends up getting sacked. He should have been sacked absolutely months and months ago. And then you just throw Aaron Ramsey under the bus in the last 3 games. Ridiculous. And it's been coming for years at the end of the day. Shocking.
Nathan, can you name all the 9 managers since Neil Warnock?
Yeah.
Right then, so we also add Dean Whitehead in as well, because he did take a few games as caretaker, and that was, of course, the Leeds game.
I was going to say, does this include interim or caretaker appointments as well?
You know what? Let's chuck him in, because it's absolutely ridiculous.
Chuck every single manager, regardless if it's caretaker, interim manager, just chuck all of them in. Yeah.
Hold on. Wait, Nathan. Let's let the other 3 do it, because we're not Cardiff fans, and then you correct us.
Yeah.
Michael, you want to start?
Oh God! Right. Okay. What do you mean? Do we all just name one, or do you just name as many as you can think of? So say I name one, Carl names one, you name one, and then so on.
No, just try and name as many as you can think of.
What's this since Neil Warnock?
Since Neil Warnock, yeah.
Was Neil Harris one of them?
He was the first, yeah.
Okay, then. Well, obviously the recent ones: Omar Reza, obviously Aaron Ramsey.
Was it McCarthy after Harris?
McCarthy.
Yeah, Mick McCarthy was after Harris. Oh my God, that was.
That's what we got: Harris, McCarthy, Reza.
Steve Morrison, wasn't it?
Steve Morrison, then, yeah.
Errol Bullitt.
Yeah.
And who was it? Sorry, yeah.
Errol Bullitt, yeah, there's one.
Sabri Lamucci.
Missed out Sabri Lamucci, and you also had Dean Whitehead in between. Who was it?
Wow.
No, Hudson and Lamucci. 4 managers it was that season.
Well,
absolutely horrible.
I've counted 7.
I think Douglas is because of today, because he was on it. So yeah, I knew he would. So
He says, "Sorry, I drank a wee bit."
Doug's on
a
cloud
wee
nine at
bit,
the moment.
Doug, I know you well. So we know. I know what you
Mate,
say.
baby, saying you need the 0 race, like that was how I felt March the 16th. There you go.
Yeah,
But I'll not stop. I'll not bore everyone with going on about that. So I've counted 7 we've named. Was it nine people
then-
that have been appointed since
and then
Earl
Ritza.
Reese's ward.
But
Yeah,
hang on, right? So Ritza, Ramsey, Errol Bullitt, Mick McCarthy, Neil Harris. That's 5.
Mark Hudson,
Mark
Steve
Hudson.
Morrison.
Hudson, yep. Steve
Paul
Morrison.
Trollo.
Dean Whitehead.
Actually, Paul Trollo was before Neil Ward.
Wait,
Yeah.
I've got confused now. Cheers, Paul.
Right, hold on. Neil Harris,
Yep.
Yep.
Mick McCarthy,
Steve
Yeah.
Morrison.
Steve Morrison, Mark Hudson,
Dean Whitehead.
Dean Whitehead,
Omar
Sabrina
Ritza.
Ucci,
Yeah.
Sabrina Ucci,
Errol
Errol
Bullitt.
Bullitt, Omar
Omar
Ritza, Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow.
5 years. 5 years, lads.
Jesus Christ.
That's all. Jesus. Do you know? Funny enough, one of the clips I was watching today, I think it was today. It was the game during our relegation to League One season. It was when we played Cardiff. Funny enough, and Cardiff beat us 4-0. Absolutely,
I remember that game.
tonked us that day. You had Neil Warnock then, didn't you? That was when Didier and Dong decided he didn't fancy a relegation battle and decided to have an early bath. So yeah, it just got me thinking about PTSD. And then Curtis puts in our bloody chat like PTSD from 2018, and it's like, piss off. Don't want to think about 2018.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
Oh my god,
Did the
yeah.
switcheroo that season, didn't we?
And do you know the funniest bit about it all from Vincent? Well, the funny in a hilariously bad way is that he still wants 300 million for the club.
he's talking like my
Someone screenshot Nathan's face there. The pace in journalism. What's the phrase? A picture equals 1,000 words.
Yeah.
He's like, go on. Well done, Vincent.
Great job.
Fantastic. You find new ways to be out of your depth.
I think out of his depth is a bit of an understatement, especially with.
I was trying to be nice.
Underneath him as well.
It depends how much tolerance for bad language Carl will have tonight. So
Hey, I think it's all guns blazing. Okay, so yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, Reese, thanks, Gummy. Listen,
Talking.
you know what? I talked about this with Doug earlier on his podcast, on the Totally Premier podcast this week. It was myself and E. Wilson, one of the Burnley fan. We were supposed to have Dad on, but Dad had some issues of getting connected. And I did say, I just felt like, and I had to be, I said, I'm not Farkas' cup of tea. Everyone's not a cup of tea, including myself, which I admit, yet it can be love it, my might, love or hate. But I was going to defend and said, okay, what happened in Norwich the first season? He only had less than £10 million to spend. The club was very iffy to give him the money for them to stay up that first season when he took them up. Then he spent nearly £40-50 million, but that money came from the Emma Buendia money, which was.
I was going to say, yeah, they lost their best player on the second time they went up, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, that can't have helped things.
Yeah,
and we've said before, you guys should have bigger resources than Norwich in the Premier League, shouldn't you?
Exactly. And I think what the difference is, because Fark is not the head coach because he wanted the title manager. That was all agreed, and I think that gives him more powers of heavy say on the transfers. When he was a head coach at Norwich, he didn't have a final say, and that was the difference. That was what caught why he lost his job the second season, because he didn't have a final say. But like I said, I'm giving him till October and see how things are. And then if there's potential warning signs, we'll make that change then. But I think he deserves a go at this at the start of the summer to see how things are. So I'm going to give him the doubt for now, but he's got to pick up the results. I think because he's got more bigger resources, I think he has a better chance. But
I think it's miles better than obviously what he had at Norwich, because at the end of the day, he had the odd signing, but in both of those first 2 seasons, he played exactly the same as what he did in the Championship. At the end of the day, with the style of play, it just doesn't work in the Premier League, and you have to have a plan B. I know at the same time, I always say if you get promoted to the Premier League, you have to make the league adapt to you. But ultimately, this is a complete opposite, because the likes of Daniel Farke, we see it a lot, especially with Scott Parker, and I think he is going to get exposed a lot at Burnley this season. If you don't have a plan B when you're in the Premier League and you're afraid to switch things up, you get found out very easily, and Your P45 is being chucked straight in your hand, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Well, I remember as well that mistakes get punished a lot more often
They
in the
do.
Premier League as well, don't they? So
Yeah, of course,
You know.
of course. It's a good question. Who will replace? I know some fools at Talksport are saying, "What about Jose Mourinho? He could be the." I'm like, I don't. Listen.
aye, sure. And if we get promoted, we'll appoint Jurgen Klopp. How about that?
Yeah, listen. I don't know. I think we have to get closer to that point during the summer. If things with the first few games, we have to look at what managers is viable for us out there. And I have to look again, depends on the type of manager that needs that. We'll have to focus on the club's objectives of what they want to do. But I said at the moment now, he deserves to have a chance because, with a club that is going to prioritize the bigger resources than he has before in his career, other than Bristol Gladbach, I think that season he had, it was that first season. It was a very competitive league, and I think that could have done better. But it was a very competitive league with the teams that around him. So look, I'm going to give him a chance to see how he does in the summer.
Yeah.
Nathan's quote me. Yeah, he's proud of you. He's proud of you. He's proud of you. Not surprised, Reese. If Jose go super or go crazy and take the Rangers job,
It's only Newcastle he goes to, surely. Cheers for depressing me, mate.
Because no, here's the thing. Because Rangers is now good. Is not because the 49ers are now part of the consortium by Rangers. It wouldn't be surprised if he's been, so.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. I mean, obviously for a club the size of Rangers, really, it's one that they need to be winning things up there, don't they? And obviously it's basically been, what was it, like 3 seasons in a row? Something that Celtics won, probably winning the treble. They've at least won.
Celtic won their fifth title, and
so
crazy.
Oh yeah, they confirmed the title the other day, didn't they?
Yesterday, just yesterday, they confirmed the title. So yeah, well, and I think they play Rangers next weekend, but they got the cup final against Aberdeen in a couple weeks time. So yeah, I think he could go to Newcastle because of Bobby Robson. Yeah, that might be not surprised at that one. Right, do you know what, folks? Let's get into the main discussion points. Let's talk about the results this past weekend, and we can start off with Friday night. Actually, still remaining in relegation trouble after 4 points above the bottom three after losing 2-0 to Sheffield United. Goals from Sammy Callan and Andre Butts. Even a depleted Blaze, they got the win no matter what. I don't know who to go to. I think I'll let you guys choose. But are you surprised that Chris Wilder, despite everything, that week of defeats that he had, is he trying to put confidence into the Blade side who have got a woeful playoff record in the history?
Do either of you want to go for this, or shall I?
Up to you, honestly, but the thing I will very quickly say with Wilder is the amount of chopping and changing this season hasn't helped them at all. Coming in, as you've said, Carl, with just their absolutely shocking run in the playoffs, that's going to hit them, especially with the cider army, as I'll call them, Bristol City, looking extremely strong if you guys cement it in there as well. And then you've got some, if I just get to it in a sec, you've got I can't even remember who's in the playoffs. Like, at the end of the day, your Sunderland's under Labrie. Could be 50-50 on there. I think there's a little bit more work that needs to be done for you guys to obviously push up into the Premier League. And then you've got Cov, Ant's favourite team, who Lampard's a bit of an unknown tool, isn't he, in the playoffs? Like, bottled it with Derby, especially with how good that team was and that should have gone up that season with all the money and all the youngsters. But it's going to be interesting either way. With some of, the amount, with all the games that I've seen them play against us this season, I'm not particularly too impressed with them. I think there's too much hesitancy in there, and not looking good under Wilder for me.
Nathan's known me too long in the group chat, so I've literally been saying this about Sheffield United all damn season long. To be fair, I didn't actually watch this. I watched bits and highlights of this game, and to be fair, I think one of the things I take away from this is because yes, Sheffield United's record in the playoffs isn't good. Apparently, from what I've heard, their record's atrocious in the playoffs. But the thing I would say is records don't dictate who wins them. If you look, for example,
records are there to be broken.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about whoever Sheffield United get in the semi-finals. I would still be pretty surprised if they didn't make Wembley. I think over 2 legs they would have enough against pretty much most teams. Watch them get Bristol City now, and Bristol City get the final. But in general, I think they would have enough in across a lot of games. And even something like, people say, the second leg at home being an advantage. Well, it is an advantage as long as you get a good result in it, which is quite weird. Because of Tottenham. Do you notice one? There was actually, I think, do you know the like many SpongeBob SquarePants pics? Someone put it about Man United. It could apply to Tottenham as well, where SpongeBob looking all muscular like The Rock. It's like, Tottenham or Man U in the Europa League, and then you've got that picture with SpongeBob's eyes looking all over the place, and he looks like really disjointed. And you know which one I'm on about when he goes, like the Tottenham or Man United in the Premier League. So it's just a bit different, yeah. But no, like I said, I mean, the thing from this was obviously massive for Sheffield United, not in the sense obviously because top 2 is obviously done, but like it's good to at least try to get a bit of a feel good factor back into it, and I think they need to have that attitude for the last game against Blackburn next week. So that's going to be huge for them. I mean, from what I'm seeing here, the stats look pretty even. That Stoke, obviously, I know there was at least one big chance. I know there's at least one big chance in the second half Stoke had, and that's probably one of the reasons why they're still down there, even though survival's still in their hands. But this is all really, I suppose, that Sheffield United can ask for, really. You've just got to make sure that you end up getting a win on the back of, 4 defeats in the previous 5. But, like I said, funny enough, you would think that if they can get a good bit of momentum for the playoffs, even though, weirdly enough, I've actually seen that playoffs momentum isn't essential to winning the playoffs, which I was surprised by, because I thought it would be. You think it would be usually, but it helps, but it's less decisive, I guess. But no, it's definitely big for Sheffield United. They needed that, particularly after Monday and the recent one they've had.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Like I said, they just want to focus with the playoffs now and those who are going to face. But we'll have to look at see how it goes. But we have to talk about one of the promoted teams. And I wish I was on here. But what a calamity from Coventry City to lose 1-0 to Luton Town. And I have to say, Justin Silva deserved a red card in the end, actually, for that last chance tackle, and then Walsh, getting sent off as well, getting down to 10. Lee Walsh got sent off to 10. But I said, what a calamity from the goalkeeper, from both the goalkeeper and the defender, Brad Williams and Lee Kitchen. I don't, Annie. What is this? Was that a blown up effect by Coventry that might cost them to finish in the playoff spot?
I don't know. I still think Coventry get in there.
I agree,
but we'll see. How funny is it that both players they got sent off, both ex-Bristol City players? Found that quite funny.
Are you saying they learned that at Ashton Gate, like?
Mate, they're trying to help us. Well, Liam Walsh wasn't. Jada Silva was.
So you're saying you can take the lads out of Bristol City, but you can't take Bristol City out of the players?
No comment. I still quite like Jada Silva. Anyway, no, the goal itself is just so bad. And to be fair, Brad Collins before that had a really good game, made a couple of really impressive saves. Luton hit the bar or the post felt like about 10 times. Collins made one really, really good save onto the post, didn't he? And then it finally felt like, because Collins had been getting a lot of flack from Cov fans, and there's been calls for Ben Wilson to go in goal and whatnot. But obviously Oliver Dovin had got injured at Sheffield United. That's not helped them.
Interrupt. Is that not Ant commenting there? That sounds like the sort of thing Ant would say.
Like Cole try and force rivalries with everyone at this point.
Oh, they've been good at doing that with everybody. They've done that with us. It's the Jimmy Hill thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the goal itself, I don't know what Brad Collins is doing, because Kitching was just gonna head it out. And actually, Coventry defended really well with 10 men for large portions of the game. And then it's a complete mess. Also, Lewis Binks on the goal line, mate. What are you doing? You're a left-footed player, and you're trying to clear it with your right foot when it's a little bit of a weird ball that's coming at you, and he's just completely screwed it up. It's a calamitous goal. It's a massive goal for Luton, because that's pretty much relegated Plymouth. It's relegated Cardiff, and it's put them ahead of Hull. as well. So a massive goal for Luton, and yeah, a bad. It was going to be a tough game for Coventry. It's a bad defeat, but I think for Coventry it's pretty simple, and it was always going to be simple. It was a case of just win against Middlesbrough. So it's not changed in terms of that. Obviously, if they'd won this game when it was 10v10, they'd pretty much be there because they'd have a 2-point advantage on a 3-point advantage on. I think no, they'd have a 2-point advantage on Millwall, wouldn't they? So yeah, a really disappointing one, but I think a similar one to when we lost at Luton last week. It was a case of doesn't really change the whole picture. It's just a case of winning that head to head against the Middlesbrough side, who are flaky, vulnerable, pretty pathetic. I think that's fair to say. We'll talk about them later, but I think for Coventry, it's not a disaster. It's not a disaster. A point wouldn't have been a disaster. And even though Millwall and Blackburn won, considering who they've got on the final day, it's not the worst thing ever.
I think as well, if you look at it, Middlesbrough have to go to Coventry and win, don't they, to have any chance of being top six. Now, let's be honest, you can't trust Borough as much as you could trust Vincent Tan to actually make smart decisions. It's Middlesbrough away from home are just not consistent. And if you look at how they went away to Sheffield Wednesday, whose mood is quite low at the time, went 1-0 up, missed a penalty and contrived to not only not win the game but lose it. I'd be very surprised if Borough got anything at Coventry. I know obviously Brad Collins has not been Flavour of the Month. Their main goalkeeper got injured a few weeks ago, didn't he? So obviously that's really not helped them. The one thing I have to talk about, and we're laughing about the red cards, but what's this Jade De Silva's red card? Like, that is...
It's the same referee that gave Trey Hume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least with that, I mean, I still didn't think that was a red card, but I can at least understand that decision more. Trey Humes, I mean.
Yeah, no,
this one is one of the most laughable decisions I've ever seen in my life there. And this is what I keep coming back to. And sorry, Nathan, I know this might not sound good, but like I've said before, referees need to be held accountable for this because, one, that could cost Coventry a playoff place, and two, it's effectively relegated Cardiff. And obviously, I'm not saying, and I know Nathan will agree with this, it's not just because of that result that Cardiff gone down, but it doesn't mean that these refs can't be held accountable for that. If Coventry miss out on, say, the playoffs by 1 point, for example, and obviously, granted, they conceded a goal 10v10, so obviously that offsets it a little bit. But what's he thinking of doing? There's next to no, in fact, there's not probably any contact whatsoever, and Jade De Silva makes
the middle for Plymouth the other week.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. Yep. That's what I mean. These things have to be talked about and addressed because I've said before, you take out your own team, I've took it out the Sunderland thing, whatever it is. Like these refs the decisions these refs make can have lasting consequences for teams. So, for example, Plymouth, the penalty that was ridiculous against Plymouth at Middlesbrough, the red card yesterday, because I bet you with 11v11, I don't think Luton win that game. Maybe they might still do, but it's obviously the fact that even though it was 10v10, they've had a man advantage for pretty much half of the game. So by the end, Coventry are going to be more mentally fatigued by the end of it. So, but yeah, how is the ref? I can't understand how the referees come to that decision to send Jade De Silva off. I don't understand it at all. And if that was against, again, like I said, it was the same referee that sent Trey Hume off at Bristol City, but at least there was enough. I mean, there was contact that I can understand why the decision was made. Whereas this one, even though I think it was wrong, but I can't get this one unless any of you guys notice something that I'm missing. I can't get why De Silva was sent off.
So what I think's happened there, and I'm trying to think of ways to defend him, to be honest. But with the angle that the referee was, what he probably thought in his first instinct, right? Player's gone down. I'm right behind them, so I can only see limited bits. He's probably caught him on the end. And then, as the PGMOL describe it, at the end of the day, is that dogzo? I think it is, unfortunately, which means he has to bring out the red card regardless, if it was the tiniest bit of contact or whatever. But the thing that drives me absolutely mental is you have the linesman on the side who should have easily seen that there was no contact or a stupidly little amount of contact made, and there was a bit of diving in there, and the linesman should have stepped in at the end of the day, corrected the referee and said, no, you're wrong. No red card at all, not even a yellow. It's a dive at the end of the day. But going back to the accountability, we're starting to see it in the Premier League a little bit more with obviously Michael Owen and Howard Webb show, where they obviously break down and explain why these decisions have happened, or okay, this referee's done here wrong, we've now spoken to him. We've got nothing in that in the Championship. There's no accountability. At the end of the day, if a manager asks for a decision, you get sent off. I mean, is that accountability? No.
No.
They're just wrapped in cotton wool in my eyes, and they have been all season. Like, I cannot remember a single game this season where I've comfortably walked out of a stadium and gone, right, that referee has had a good performance today, because they have all been terrible.
I think as well, and the point you make about linesmen or lines officials is a really good one, because they especially get wrapped in cotton wool. And to some degree, I feel for the referees, because the spotlight's all on them, but the lines officials do next to nothing.
Yeah.
Like, or at least it genuinely feels like they do next to nothing. You just go, no, you stay in the middle, right? Yeah, you just take all the stick. I'm going to hide behind here, wave me little flag once or twice to look like I'm doing something, and I'll just have no impact on the game at all.
At the end of the day, go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Robert, I think you're right about the silver red card. Like, the linesman, that should be right in his sort of frame of vision, at least more so than, is it Oliver Langford, referee, for this game? So, yeah. For me, yeah, I think he's right. We don't have any accountability in the Championship. And don't get me wrong, there's a difference between wanting accountability and obviously abusing referees, because I understand how hard a job they have got. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they should be immune from criticism. And for me, I've always said, you should be allowed to point out if a referee's had a stinker, regardless if your team happens to have lost, won or draw. Doesn't matter. I've made a good point in my videos this season of criticising refs, even when we've won games.
Yeah.
Because then it can't be bitter when you don't win. So the general standard's just awful. Sorry, Nathan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, that's all right. The thing I found with linesmen a lot this season as well is they can't even get decisions right where, it's going to be this way or this way for a throw-in, or, he's onside. You'll see a ball go out, and then you just see the linesman stand there for like 3 seconds.
And then you go, this way.
What do I do? Yeah, I think it's that.
It looked like it went that way, so that way.
They just can't make a decision. Like, at the end of the day, they are literally pressured by fans when they just stood there, like, flapping because they're like, I've missed concentration to see where that went. They're literally taking off crowd noise to think, which way do I give it? I need to calm them down, so I'll give it that way. I mean, it's just complete delusion. I know a lot of people are against VAR, but look at the way it's being used in the Premier League. I know there's a lot of criticism to be had there, definitely, but when you're missing the basics in the Championship, and you got obviously these automated or semi-automated offsides coming in now, I think the only way to improve the standards, and I know it's run stupidly in the TV gantries, is to get VAR in the Championship. Pains me to say it, but if you want to tie up these stupid decisions, either mic up the referees and hold them to account where they have to explain the decisions live and to the players, or you put VAR in. Which is
Can I make a devil's advocate a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
I can see why he's given that red card. I genuinely can, because he's made contact, De Silva, and Milanic Ali's. Obviously, you have to. The referee can't take into account the fact that how quickly is Silva running. Is he going to catch Milanic Ali? Is Ali just going to burst past him? He doesn't know that. We'd need some sort of physicist and some AI model to actually computer model that.
Well, the world's going that way, so why not?
We don't have access to that. He doesn't have access to that. He's got to make a decision in the moment. I agree with you, Michael. I do feel a little bit of sympathy. It is a massive decision. I can see why he's given it. I also, if you look at the trajectory of the ball, it's kind of swerving inwards. It's actually going towards Jay De Silva, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is there an argument to say, actually, Milanic Ali doesn't get the ball in that situation? He might be away, but he doesn't get the ball. So ultimately, it's invalid. I think Ali's done well similar to what Naki Wells did. I think Ali's done well to kind of feel the contact and then go down, a little bit theatrical. But both, Naki Wells and Milanic Ali both did well to go down on the contact. I can see why he's given it, because it's the last man. Who is it? Liam Kitching, or like right adjacent?
It was Kitching. Kitching was there. Liam Kitching was He was.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Kitching a sort of real? Does the referee notice Liam Kitching on that side? And Does he look at him and go, "Oh, he might cover and come potentially block a shot"?
Because that
I don't
looked
know.
like he was going in that direction. He was going to cover because that was
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can see what he's given it, but it's such a 50-50, I think, personally. There is contact. It's slight. It's clever from Ali. It's a little bit of everything. I feel sympathy for him a little bit. If you're a Luton fan, you're going, right, that's a red card because Ali's rapid. He's going to get in on goal and he's going to have a shot. And a clear goal-scoring opportunity. On the other hand, if you're a Coventry fan, you're going, well, De Silva's also quite quick. He's going to catch up with him. He might block a shot, pitching.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, here we go for me.
I put it in slow-mo as well, so we can literally see here. I should have probably done it a bit clearer, but there's the point of contact there.
Yeah.
But even then, the contact's like minuscule,
it's
isn't
so
it?
hard. And like you have the linesman, I think if my mouse cursor's on here, I think he was by here at this point.
The linesman's already there.
If the referee doesn't spot that, the linesman should be spotting that.
Yeah, there we go. Straight away.
And by the way, just be quickly, if you're in that situation and you think it's going to get your team a man advantage, you do it. Absolutely. There's no, as much as I'm not a fan of it, you do it. It's the same thing that what Naki Wells did with Trey Hume. You're going to do it. It's in a big game. Of course you're going to try and get any sort of advantage. And even if the ref, and if any, as I said, if you can understand why the ref may be giving it, but then you have to look and go, well, why did the linesman not spot that? So, unless he didn't, it was just happened to be the wrong call. But to be fair, if you're taking into account just the result, look, obviously Coventry haven't had a particularly good week in terms of losing away at Plymouth. But again, you've got to bear in mind a lot of teams nearer the top have gone to Plymouth and not managed to get a win. I think it's only really Burnley amongst the top 7 or top 8, I think, or even top 9 possibly, that have gone there and won. I know Leeds still have to go there, but a lot of teams have ended up losing at Plymouth. And obviously yesterday, the circumstances caveated that. But if you look at it from Coventry's perspective, it's definitely one where you're at least still in your hands going into the final day. And I can imagine Annie was probably happy with it, looking at all the results and sort of going, right, thank you, Luton. Don't let Coventry go above us. And obviously Nathan would have had a different reaction, bless him. But I'm with Annie what he said. I think I just can't see them not beating Middlesbrough. And I know Brad Collins obviously isn't inspiring confidence in goal, but to be honest, Middlesbrough as a team don't inspire confidence, even among their own fans, especially away from home when they need to get a result. So I still believe Coventry will get at least 6th, possibly 5th. But you've got to say, from Luton's perspective, that's a cracking week, though. Beating Bristol City and beating Coventry, both at home in a single week, and it puts survival right into their hands going on to the final day, because there was a point where Luton looked hapless. They looked gone. They looked absolutely dead and buried. And I've said all along that I don't believe the squad Luton had should be anywhere near down where it is. But at the very least, if they've stayed up, even if they stay up, it's not a success for them, really. It's still one where you go, it's relief, but it's not a good season. And we need to have a lot of kind of soul-searching done in the summer, really, to sort of challenge better next season. But they've at least given themselves a good fighting chance, and it's in their hands for the last day.
It is as well to give it a good fighting chance on the last day of in the coming week ahead as well. One of the other 4 teams that went into battle for the relegation battle, Derby County win against Hull yesterday 1-0. A header from, I have to say, Nat Phillips in the last 5, 6, 10 minutes of the game or so.
What makes it worse, ex-Cardiff player sending us down as well.
Yeah, as well, and that means that they've now moved out the relegation on Derby and Hull are not into the drop zone. And Michael, can this eventually be paid off for John Eustace for making the move from Blackburn to Derby? We'll talk about Blackburn in a bit as well. So and like I said, Hull have got the game against Portsmouth next weekend into the final match as well. So yeah, it's anyone's guess at the moment, but that was a huge win for the Rams yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, you've obviously got to take into account that it was a game they would realistically target to win because Hull's got the worst home record, I think, in the division, in the entirety of the championship. And obviously winning it that late, that's like a bit of extra buzz with momentum, isn't it? So I think, for me personally, and I've said before, I'm not a fan of the manager of the season or player of the season awards being done before the season's finished, and that includes the playoffs.
Yeah.
But for me, I think if he keeps Derby up, John Eustace should have manager of the season for 2 different clubs in the same season. which is probably one of the weirdest things that you could ever imagine. Where if you look at what he did at Blackburn at the start of the season to get them to where they were, while selling Sammy Spodix, when a lot of people would have tipped them to go down, especially after selling Spodix, he had them comfortably well clear of the battle of bottom and battling for, and he's laid the foundation for Ismail. Sorry, why do I say Israel? I keep getting that mixed up. Ismail to get to have them fighting for the playoffs. But then if you go to Derby, because that was a big decision from him to leave a club that was going for the top 6 to a club that's battling to stay in the league. But yeah, I mean, if he keeps Derby, I mean, if you look at that Derby squad on paper, it's not one that would inspire a lot of championship sort of level quality, really. Some players in there that could make the step up, but what a job he'll have done. And it's safe to say, Derby fans, again, if you'd offered them this going into the final game, where outside the bottom 3, okay, albeit by a point, but you're outside the bottom 3, and it's in your hands going into the final day. When Paul Warne was sacked, I'd imagine you have Derby fans going, yep, absolutely, you've been smoking something, but I'll take it. So it's massive, and obviously it's Stoke at home they've got next weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's another huge game, really. But yeah, this is massive. It's equally as massive for Derby as it could be potentially damaging for Hull. And this comes back to how bloody stupid this division is. Where a couple of weeks ago you would have probably said it would have come across as a surprise for Hull to go down, and I said the same thing. Where you felt with Hull they're going to be enough to.
Yeah, we did say that virtually.
Yeah, we were pretty much saying. I think I remember me and Annie in particular. I think we were saying about Hull going. We think they'll have enough, and they might still do. I actually fancy them to win at Portsmouth on the final day, weirdly, because away from home they are much better. But even though recently they haven't been particularly good, but Hull, the problem they've had is they've lost. They lost to Luton. They ended up losing. They've lost to Derby now. I think they've lost to Stoke recently. Or am I making that up? I could be wrong on that one.
They drew against Stoke.
Drew against Stoke. Okay, then fair enough. And then if you look at it, but obviously. I forgot what we're trying to talk here. Oh yeah, so I think with Hull, it's only Oxford. I think that they've beaten recently. That's been down there. I'm sure I remember reading or hearing that somewhere. So
they've beaten Plymouth as well.
Yeah. Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. But I mean, for Hull, they've kind of really dropped into the bottom 3, and weirdly, they're probably not the team that we're going to talk about who's slid down the league the most. 3 guesses who that will be later. But it's not. If you're Hull, you need to be at least getting something from that, even if your home record is poor. You cannot afford to be losing that. But again, to quickly go back to Derby again, John Eustace deserves all the plaudits he gets. He keeps Derby up, because I think for me, and that's what I mean, if the Manager of the Season awards are going to be announced even a couple of weeks from now, John Eustace's name should be in that bracket for me. But that's by the by. Huge win for Derby, though, as you said.
The funny thing for Hull is, no matter what happens elsewhere, as long as they win, they're safe.
Yeah, because of Derby and Stoke playing each other. Yeah.
So whatever happens there, they'll overtake one of them if they win. So, and they've got a nice goal difference in terms of comparing it with Luton.
Yeah, true.
Got quite equal to Preston, but if Preston lose, well, their goal difference will be enough to take them above them. So it's again quite straightforward for Hull. Just win the game at Pompey. So I suppose kind of nice to have that clarity in terms of, well, if we draw, it might be enough. Just win the game and you're safe. But as opposed to other teams who would have been in Hull's position sort of in previous years, where Birmingham last year, where they won and it was like, oh, right, might be safe. Everyone above them managed to find a way to win. Yeah. So it's quite clear for Sellers and what he needs to do. One thing I'll mention quickly on the game is what really killed Hull, from what I've been hearing, is John Egan going off at half time and Alfie Jones coming on, because Alfie Jones looked quite suspect and he actually gave away the free kick which Craig Forsyth put in, and then Nat Phillips heads in. So from their perspective, they'll want John Egan back. We know how good he is, but yeah, they've lost some key head-to-heads. They've lost some really bad head-to-heads, and when the tide is high, when everyone else is winning, if you lose your head-to-head, you're going to get caught up. You're going to get caught up really quickly. Yeah. And your form can be good. Hull have been mid-table, right? That's not bad under Sellers. They've been like top half, I think, actually, in terms of form since Sellers has come in. But literally everyone else has been performing at playoff level, apart from Preston. And now look where Preston are. they could very well go down. So it's absolute craziness. The tide is so high. The fact that we're even speaking about Hull being in the relegation zone with 1 game to go on 48 points. Yeah, just
What was the
craziness.
tally Birmingham went down on last year?
50.
50.
50,
yeah.
right, okay. Well, yeah, so at the minute, this looks like it's going to beat that, isn't it? But you are right. I think the crucial thing is that even sometimes people make a lot about having to win your head-to-heads. Sometimes you've just got to not lose them. If you at least get something from them, you're taking 2 points. So say if they draw against Derby, 2 points that Derby don't get. They draw against... who else was it that they lost to recently? Luton. Draw that. 2 less points that they get as well. Sometimes it's all about just not losing down there, but it seems to me that this happens every single season where the relegation battle, the teams down the bottom look turgid for about 3 quarters, and then suddenly they start turning into Real Madrid in terms of form. And it just makes you think, like, how the hell does that happen? Is it just a siege mentality where you just go, right, if we don't turn up here, we're screwed? So I don't know psychologically how it works, but one thing I would say, though, is look for me from Stoke down towards Hull, because look, we'll talk about Plymouth in a minute, but Plymouth's all but down. The goal difference is just, you're not. It's very difficult to imagine a 14-goal swing, or even a 15-goal swing, depending on who scored more goals, happening on the last day. So watch like Plymouth 8, Leeds 0, and then I don't know, West Brom 8, Hull Luton 0, and then Portsmouth beating Hull. I don't know, but like, can any of you call whatsoever who's going to go down in that 22nd spot?
I think Stoke are safe. I think whatever happens there, I think Stoke. I think it's crazy. Like literally everyone else below them. Well, everyone else below them would have to not win, and some of them would have to lose for Stoke to get relegated. So I think Stoke are fine. I think Luton will be fine because I think they'll win at West Brom.
I agree.
That's just
West Brom are terrible, so they'll be fine.
I think it's now between Preston and Hull at this moment.
Do you see either of Derby or Stoke going down?
I think they'll. You know what's going to happen? I think they'll draw. I think they'll find out.
There's no way they're not going to know during the game, is there? About what's happening. And I'm not talking the fans. I'm talking the managers and the players. They'll know during that last game what is happening, and they'll go, right, don't overexert yourselves. Like, you just do the right. You just keep the ball. We'll not try and score. You just sit there. It's all right. It's fine.
I'm not accusing anything. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but just look at the managers in the dugouts. Both of them have. Mark Robbins and John Eustace are going to know exactly what's going on at Fratton and Ashton Gate.
And Mark Robbins has been through this before. He been through this before when Huddersfield Town, when that Bowser Huddersfield Town was staying up and Peterborough went down, and they knew what was going on, and they actually when Peterborough went down at Christmas, so they knew what was going on. So they said, you know what? We'll just play for the draw, and that's it. Because I was at that game that day. That's exactly what's going to happen. That scenario again. Because Matt Robbins has been through this before.
Did anyone watch the Liverpool game today, where Arne Slot and Postecoglou, with like 2 minutes to go, just kind of shook hands when it was 5-1? Something like that might happen at Pride Park when it's 2 minutes to go. Just 1-1. When it's just 1-1, both teams are going to be safe and just shake hands on a draw. Just put the ball in the centre circle and just sit back.
Mind you, what a final day! I mean, we'll talk about the playoff battle in a minute, but what a final day this relegation battle is going to be. Like, look at. I mean, if you look at the relegation battles in like the lower leagues, like League 2, it's already done. Premier League, obviously, it's already done. League 1, it's pretty much already done. If Burton gets something midweek against Wigan, this league is one of the most ridiculous. I wonder why Annie's smirking there. Let's just say he would have been reading Bristol Rovers comments yesterday. But
I like that. I don't know why.
Sorry, you just go. Hey, I quite like that. Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. He's like, I also quite like reading. What club is spelt that way that could sound different? I wonder. He's not even trying to hide it either.
He's not even hiding it as well.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I'm so sorry. I mean this with not all disrespect. With all respect.
That's bullshit.
That's nonsense. Come on.
This is absolute comedy gold. Like, oh my god. I was hearing things like, "Oh, we're going to be the top 6." Oh, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, right. See you next season. Cheers. Yeah, we'll see about that.
Oh God! Well, that's it. If Bristol City happen to miss out on the playoffs, at least he can go. At least we're not League 2 next season.
I mean, there must be. I was reading this on Twitter earlier. There must be some Bristol City fan who's got a GD lamp. At the end of the day, Bristol City gassed down to League 2. Cardiff down to League One, Reading being Reading. Who else have we got around there as well? Like Cheltenham being terrible. Basic Newport and Newport. Like, what's the final wish?
We're in the Premier League, mate. That's
Exactly.
that is the final
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. Well, that's the
Well,
thing.
well,
You've already got all this to enjoy over this.
Leeds be Premier League champions.
Well, that's the thing. Like Andy's already got all of this now as a base. He's happy now. You can just go right here. Even if the worst happens, this is all good. But
I can just see it in my head now. Bristol City beat Sunderland in the semi-finals, and then they batter Sheffield United at Wembley.
I will join you in being clinically depressed if that happens.
Please do.
Yeah, honestly. Well, we'll wait and see. Who knows? Well, it depends if we even get each other. But you know what? Yeah, this relegation battle, this is just absolutely, excuse my language, fucking insane. I was looking at it. I'm just going, how the hell can you call definitively who is going to go down? It's just this is honestly the most mental. It might not be the best quality, but it's the most mental league in the world, the Championship.
I don't think we've had many teams like that have gone on to the last day that one of them could go down. I've usually be like at least one or two or three at least.
Do you know what? Really, the best relegation battle on the final day I've seen was in the 2010-11 season in the Premier League when you had like because I was watching the coverage of it the other day on Match of the Day. You had like Blackpool, we had Birmingham, you had Wigan, Wolves, there was someone else. Who else was it? No, not West Ham. Hang on. Wigan.
Blackburn.
Yeah, Blackburn,
No,
Wolves.
West Ham was involved. That you could put West Ham in that one because West Ham was relegated.
Well, yeah, on the final day they were, though.
Didn't they?
Yeah, but I'm talking like, Wolves, Blackburn, then you had Wigan, then Birmingham, Blackpool. You had like all five of them. And at every point, there was like, teams kept jumping all over the place. And then it came down to goal difference, then it came down to goals scored. And then, it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So, you know what? I know that obviously when Sky pick their games for next week, they're probably either going to pick Leeds and Burnley's games for the title or pick the playoffs.
No, I don't think it will. I think it's going to be all the games because of the Sky Plus deal.
Oh, yeah, Sky Sports Plus, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm talking like their main event ones. But yeah, no, I really hope that all the championship games are like, well, the ones that have got meanings attached to them are all like across different every Sky Sports stuff. Like, because if you're just looking at if you just take yourselves to the final day, like, you're just looking at on the top of your head, you've got Bristol City, Preston's got permutations at both ends. We'll include Leeds and Burnley for the title. Yes, I saw that, Annie. Coventry against Borough, Derby against Stoke, Portsmouth against Hull, West Brom, Luton. Like, there's so many good-looking fixtures there. But yeah, and like I said, it's near impossible for me to call who's definitely going to go down. But yeah, it's going to be the one slight ray of light for Nathan, even though it won't feel like it. Maybe at least you're not going to be stressed next weekend.
Yeah. They've not announced the fixtures yet, the TV yet. So I think
they're waiting until your game tomorrow, I think, aren't they?
Tomorrow night, I think they will announce something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm kind of obviously I'll be at the Sunderland QPR game, but I'm looking for. I think one of my friends will end up having a radio where he just listens to everything that's going on. A lot of it's just going to be elsewhere, and you just go, "Wait, what's up there? Say, wait, what? They jump up there? Wait, well, no, they've scored, so that means that's happening there." I absolutely love drama like that. When your team's not involved in it anyway, it's really good to watch.
It's going to be great to watch it as a neutral, that's all I'll say. Just be there looking, we're being battered by Norwich, who've been absolutely shocking with Jack Wilshere as manager, but yeah, it's going to be
Jack Wilshere versus Aaron Ramsey.
I mean, what simulation football manager is this? It's crazy.
Oh, you couldn't write it, could you?
No.
You could not make it up.
You couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
The former Arsenal Legends derby, if you want to call them both legends for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Honestly. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay, do you know what? Since we go to relegation teams, it's kind of all but over for Plymouth, regardless. After the 1-2-1, they've mathematically gone down. Even though it's not confirmed, but they've mathematically gone down. And
I think the only pride for Plymouth is the resurgence they've had under Murslich, or however you say his name. At the end of the day, Murslich, sorry. At the end of the day, they have been absolutely woeful all season. The Rooney appointment pretty much saw them down at the start of the season, but to sort of call it back,
less time with the prostitutes at his house, then more time working with the players.
Yeah, around the Christmas markets with Colleen and just letting Michael Obafemi just turn up to training whenever he likes and all that nonsense at the start. It was like absolute circus there, wasn't it? But I mean, for him to come in and bring it to the last day, well, nearly the last day, where they could potentially stay up, and the fact that they're not even finishing bottom with how bad that they've been, you got to give Plymouth some credit in a way and see it as a little bit of a positive, but
It's just come too little too late, hasn't it?
Terrible. Yeah, way too little, way too late. And at the end of the day, the Rooney appointment just absolutely ruined them.
Do you know, to be honest, I think the biggest thing is letting down is their away record.
Massively.
If you actually look at their home record, I think I saw something like, is it since Mulic has come in? It's either the form since he's come in, or it's their home record. It's like 12th in the league form, whatever it is. But the problem is when you sackless away, basically. Yeah. I mean, I know, which is weird. We're talking about that in a away game that they've won, but yeah, it's, you know. And to be fair, like, it looked like it's obviously a really good win in the grand scheme of things. It's just, but again, it all comes back to the same thing I've said. Imagine if they'd got that point at Middlesbrough, and then all of a sudden they're going into it going, we've got every chance here. We've got every chance here. So, like, yeah, it is too little too late for them. And I think, especially if he stays in League One, then I think that, and obviously because if they keep a lot of their squad, they should have a lot of players that should be ready to mount a promotion challenge. And this might be the same for Cardiff, actually. For whoever goes down, the best thing that probably could have happened was Birmingham and Wrexham finishing in the top 2 this season.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, from Nathan's point of view, geographically, probably not. But I'm talking like challengers next season in terms of the best chance to go. Because for both clubs, the aim should be promotion back to the Championship.
Yeah.
But that's going to be something for Plymouth. And I think, obviously, I mean, they sold Morgan Whittaker in January, didn't they? So obviously, that was something that didn't help their cause too much. Although apparently, it hadn't been that great for them this season. It hasn't done that much for Borough, weirdly enough.
It's a good cash in for them that they can
absolutely.
in the summer. Like, for me, looking. Whoever goes down, especially with if it's whether it's Hull, Preston, whoever it is, maybe even Derby, if they absolutely ruin it on the last day. Whoever out of those 3, I think Plymouth and most likely Hull or Preston are gonna be pretty much there as the most prepared team out of everyone. Maybe even Bolton in League One down, or even Stockport if they pull off another miracle. The ones that, well, as far as I'm concerned with us, we're an absolute mess, and we're going to be struggling next season. In fact,
I think you won't be wrong, because I think even Huddersfield was struggling again next season. And
I agree.
Because then when I went back home, the atmosphere was so bad, and I thought, right, this town is not. Because I was with it. I was at the stadium on Friday night because my mum was helping out with the catering. It was so much food at the ground. I thought, this is a bad omen for a show they're playing on the next day. And it bloody was, actually. It was just like, you had the funeral the next day. You had the funeral Friday. Someone's funeral Friday in one of the suites in the stadium. The next day, you lose. I'm like, oh my God, that was a curse.
So it's Carl's fault, basically, is what he's saying.
Ish. Yeah, it was on Thursday. It happened.
Can I just point? Yeah. Niall, first of all, Niall's absolutely spot on. It's extremely competitive league. I always used to get annoyed. This is relevant. Well, when we were in League One, people keep saying, "Oh, League One's a competitive league. It's a good league." I'm like, right, it's competitive, but is it hella good division? It's absolutely. It's basically long ball FC all the time. It's physicality FC, and everyone just wants to beat you if you're the big fish in a small pond. The Championship is actually a bonkers league in the best way sort of possible. I obviously hope we're not in it next season, but even if we are, at least the Championship is actually a really good bonkers league. And to be fair, to be bonkers, like, that's great. With Plymouth, at least you're getting a bit of pride from them to get back to the game. But we've got to talk about Preston. What on earth what has happened to them? And this is what I mean. We talk about Hull sliding into the relegation zone. I'm convinced Preston might as well. It's like one of those memes where a player does a knee slide. Preston might as go, do you want to slide in? Do you want a DM slide into League One? Because the way they're going has been. Do you think I think it looks like their season was built around. This is going to sound really weird. The FA Cup run, which was great for them to get the quarter-final. And then it's kind of like, oh, we've still got 7 or 8 games left to play here. What the hell do we do? And that's bad.
It's
like,
bad.
From a Preston point of view, losing a home
team
with all due respect to Plymouth, how bad they are away from home, that is shocking.
Yeah, no, they're really bad because Preston have lost 4 games and drawn 2 in the last 6 games. It's really bad, and they're the worst run form team at the moment, other than Hull and even Derby to a brief point until they won reach the last 2 games. But my God, it looks really dreadful at the moment. I don't know how Paul Heckerman gets about, because with Preston, who they got next week, because I think they got a big, I think Preston.
I was going to say, I was thinking the thought that's going to go through Annie's head is he's going to go
Bristol City.
Preston are going to turn absolutely world class next week. Stop us, gate crashing the playoff party, and then they'll stay up, and we'll finish 7th. I was just, I don't even need to hear what Annie's saying. I can just read it by the look on his face.
It would be so poetic, and I genuinely love Preston fans because we've had the best banter for like 10 years because we've just been stuck in 13th and 12th for 10 years. But it would just be the most cyclical ending where we send them back to League One where it all started, and then we like finish in the playoffs and get to the Premier League. Anyway, yeah, I mean Preston are just, that squad should not be 20th. We say that about Hull. That squad should not be 22nd. Granted, Hull have got a lot of injuries, which has not helped them. Preston, it looked like they were safe. They won at Norwich, didn't they? 1-0. And at that point, we went, that's it, done. And I think I heard they were like 11 points clear after the Norwich game, which was...
I'll double check that. Go on.
Which was like 14 games ago. They were 11 points clear. That in a playoff race or a promotion race isn't that, like, it can be easily made up because teams at the top win a lot more games than teams at the bottom. I figure that's why
they were 11 points clear after they beat Norwich in mid-February.
It's craziness considering. Yeah, okay, teams near the bottom. That's the one thing that's not helped Preston. Yeah, okay, they've been pretty horrendous recently, but teams around them have been pretty much in playoff form. Derby have been in top 2 form, for God's sake, for 10 games, coinciding with this Preston run. Stoke have been pretty good. They've been mid-table. Hull have been pretty good. They're still below Preston. Who else is in there? Who's the other team in there?
Luton?
Luton have been outstanding since, like, pretty much, again, coinciding with this Preston run. So Preston have been caught at the most horrific time to have this bad run. And I agree with that. The FA Cup it's looked like it's going to be a massive distraction. And I would say,
after Villa knocked them out, if they just decided down tools and go on the beach, like ever since then, I don't know whether Heckingbottom's lost the dressing room, negativity. I don't understand it.
The players look lost. I think in the way he's lost. I think in my mind, from the body language, it looks like the players and the manager don't have that bondness now. I think that's gone. It's gone.
Just to point out, right, even if you take out the Norwich game, right, before the March international break, the last league game they played before the Villa FA Cup game, they beat Portsmouth at home at Deepdale 2-1. They were 9 points clear 7 games ago. That is awful. How that is so. That is awful. And since then, they've picked up 2 points.
That's pathetic.
Yeah.
And arguably, out of the lot of this relegation kind of scrap, they might well have the hardest game on the final day. I don't want to come across as arrogant.
No, I think you're right.
You're right.
But at the end of the day, you guys have got the 5th best home record in the league. So I know, again, records. I know you're going to say Bristol City like to break them and blah, 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 blah. But if you're looking at it, that is not the fixture that, even if Bristol City lose tomorrow night, which a lot of people would expect, you wouldn't want to be going there, especially when you guys are still fighting for 5th spot or 5th or 6th spot, aren't you? So I agree.
Pompey have a great record, so Hull might find it really difficult to go there and win. Luton have got to go to West Brom. If West Brom were in a playoff race, I'd say, yeah, okay, that's a really difficult game. That's on par with us. But now West Brom have not really got anything, and they've really fallen off a cliff. I don't know. I feel like Preston and Hull might be the teams that. And I know Luton are in between them, which is weird to say, but I think Luton will do enough. I think it might be between Preston and Hull. Which, quite frankly, if you told me a few weeks ago that the relegation battle was going to go down to the final day and you said it's going to be between Preston, North End and Hull City, I'd just be like, yeah, no, good one. Yeah, this division doesn't fail to deliver, and it has not failed again.
No, absolutely not.
Like I said, I'm going to try to skip through most of the games anyway. I'll just do a quick roundup. Burnley are back at the top of the table after winning 5-0 at QPR. I'll just go down. I'm looking at the bottom here.
You said Burnley don't score goals.
I know. At Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday drew 1-1 against Portsmouth after equaliser early by Harvey Blair. So yeah, I just wanted to skip through most of it, but we do want to talk about one of the other teams. And we spoke about early today, actually, Middlesbrough are not, with the future of Michael Carrick's future is under questionable. After the 0-0 draw against, Norwich City, who's now under the interim manager of Jack Wilshere. What a week has been for managerial changes, especially what's going on at Norwich, which the sacking of Jonas Hofford was out of the blue, and then now this future of McCarrick could be out of the job if he doesn't get to the playoffs.
The difference I will probably give it is if Gibson's going to get rid of Carrick, fair play to him for leaving it until the end of the season and doing a reset properly. I think with the way it's gone at Norwich and the Tony Mowbray one at West Brom had to happen because he just completely lost the dressing room. And the way that we played against them on the weekend, they just looked completely devoid of ideas. But whatever's happened at Norwich, I just think, couldn't have you have waited till the end of the season instead of just chucking Jack Wilshere under the bus and trying to get something, because you were never going to get in playoffs anyway. Just see it out till the end of the season. It's just wasteful.
Do you know the thing is, because I'll speak to a couple of Norwich fans, and I'll shout out the excellent Talk Norwich City YouTube channel because I watch them quite regularly. They were kind of under the impression that Johannes Hoftor wasn't going to go anywhere and that we're going to try and persist with this and going into next season. Now, to sort of play a bit devil's advocate here, while I think, and there's a few Norwich fans that disagree with this decision, the structure Norwich have got is that when someone's appointed as a head coach, it's a different term to manager, because manager is literally in the name, manage.
That's
whereas
back to the Danny Farkas.
Yeah, exactly. So like a manager obviously has to manage, but with a head coach, you're part of a bigger structure and a bigger aspect of the club in terms of how you're one cog, a big cog in a machine. Don't get me wrong, but you are a part of a bigger machine in that regard. So if Norwich appoints someone who has maybe similar ideas to Johannes Hoftor, but is someone who is a better standard, or is a better coach, or is someone who can get more out of the players, then for me, whether this is the right call or not depends entirely on their next appointment for me. Obviously, the timing is a bit weird, because what was it, with 3 games to go or 2 games to go?
3 games.
They pretty much decided to do it. So the timing's definitely intriguing. But what helped was apparently one of their program notes for when they lost at home to Portsmouth in the last home game. I mean,
Zoe Webber, wasn't it? Yeah.
Zoe Webber said comments like, "We failed in our objective for top 6," and then apparently Hannah Softtrop said, "Wait, that wasn't our objective." Now that straight away goes, right, which one is it? Because clearly there's either one of you is lying through your teeth, or there's a clear miscommunication there. So I'm not. When you think about it like that, it kind of surprises me a bit less, but it still kind of shocked me that they did it now. So a lot of it's going to hinge on the summer for Norwich, and you've got to bear in mind, Boris Sainz has got 1 year left on his deal, so I think there's a good chance he goes. Josh Sargent, okay, granted his injury record could possibly mean he stays, but I think he'll probably not want to play championship football next season if he can get a move away. Angus Gunn looks like he's going to be going. Shane Duffy, I think I want to say he might be going as well. I know obviously Norwich fans have a debate whether it's the right time or not, or etc. Yada yada, but there's a core of that squad that's going, but at the same time they should be able to get money to reinvest it. It's just about how well we do it.
Because I know Jonathan Rowe is technically still on loan at Marseille. Even I don't think he signed a permanent deal yet with them yet.
As far as I'm aware, that was a loan with an obligation to buy, but I could be wrong on that.
That will come into active.
Yeah.
Once.
So yeah, for Ben Napper, it's a big summer. It's a big summer for Ben Napper because we've had the first full season of the new project, or trust the process, which I know a lot of people are sick of hearing, but 14th place is not exactly what I think they would have had in mind for this season. And even if they didn't get playoffs, they would have wanted a bit more than this. In isolation for this game, though, yeah, in isolation, it's a good point. Away at Middlesbrough, at least it seemed to me like the dressing room was fighting a bit harder for the shirt this time, which maybe does say Johannes Hoftor maybe did lose his. But if you want to talk about head coaches, I think, and me and Annie have always had this thing about Middlesbrough's squad, that I think a lot of people comparing it to top 2 standard overrated a bit. But there's no getting away from the fact it should be a top 6 squad. It should be finishing in the playoffs, in my opinion. And do you guys think it would be fair if Michael Carrick loses his job if he doesn't get the playoffs when he's had 2.5 seasons at it?
I think it's a big move for Steve Gibson, but I think potentially it's the right one because they have had that tag of should be with the experience of the play career of Michael Carrick, he should be able to get that. He should have got that Middlesbrough team in that top 2 or the high top 3 in those last 2 seasons.
To be fair as well, if you look at their... Sorry, Carl. Their squad last season. I can give him a bit of slack there because he lost Archer, Stefan. Was it Zavori? No, hang on, Zavori wasn't there. That was at Hull. What am I talking about?
Giles, Ramsey,
Yeah, exactly.
Akpom.
And the Solar Pom. So I can understand that. That's definitely. I can understand last season because that was a big, big change in terms of what you had to work with. When you look at the team he had when he inherited the year before, that was a massive amount of overhaul to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas with this season, I think there's less excuse there. If you look at it, if the season ended now, I think they finished 8th last year. I want to say they're finishing less now on a worse points tally now, possibly, than what they ended up finishing on last year. I'll double check that actually, but yeah.
Can I just say, on Middlesbrough squad, I was always under the impression, and I will hold my hands up for this, I was thinking that squad is much better than what their points tally is like projecting towards. They should be on a lot more points. I still think their squad is better than what the league table suggests and what the points.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, it's
what the points tally suggests. However, I'm looking at Michael Carrick and I'm looking at how he's utilising that squad at the moment, and I'm completely just going, right, that player doesn't fit into what he's doing. For example, Morgan Whittaker, big money signing in January, and I know Ben Doak is injured and he probably would have been the first choice option. If you have Morgan Whittaker, Delano Bergsorg and Finn Azaz as your kind of front three off Tommy Conway.
2 of them had a good relationship at Plymouth as well, by the way, so they should know each other.
Michael Carrick is playing Morgan Whittaker as the 10, Finn Azaz on the right, Finn Azaz on the left, and Delano Bergsorg on the right. And I'm looking at it going, right, so Bergsorg wants to go in on his right foot, so he'll try and go inside. Azaz wants to go inside. Whittaker wants to go inside. So you have no width in your team. All your play goes through Hayden Hackney, and we know what Middlesbrough are like, possession-heavy passes and stuff like that, and they're racking up all the good numbers, all very pretty, all very nice. When it comes to the crunch point, they are very flaky, and I used the word pathetic earlier, and I still stand by it. I think they are pretty pathetic in terms of... I don't think they're a pathetic team. I think that team is quite good. But when it comes to the big moments, Sheffield Wednesday away, you cannot fall apart like that. Bristol City away, you cannot fall apart like that. A little bit more nous, a little bit more sort of... Just a bit more sort of cuteness about you, you know? Just don't fall apart like that.
Losing away at Millwall as well.
Losing away at Millwall. What I've noticed in Borough games, what I've heard from the excellent Borough Breakdown podcast, is whenever there's a momentum shift against Middlesbrough in a game,
they can't handle it, can they?
No. They can't turn it around. And I'm going, you're not going to get into the playoffs if you can't deal with the slightest bit of pressure. And God forbid, if Middlesbrough do get into the playoffs, they will get eaten alive. If this is the same sort of standard they're going to be putting up, because it is so frustrating for me to sit here and watch such a good team with so many good players being completely misprofiled, misutilized, having a bunch of players who individually you're going, he's good, he's producing good numbers, but as a team, they're not performing. No. I'll go back to my forward line point, like Azaz, Whittaker, Conway, and Bergsorg. He's changed it to like Marcus Force and other people, Ian Acho. If you let's say you put Azaz in the 10, Whittaker on the right, and Bergsorg on the left. All 3 players you want to go inside. No width. You have fullbacks in Dykesteel and Neto Borges, I want to say, who are not. Yeah, then they're not providing enough. They're fullbacks this season, by the way. Oh God, they've been dreadful. Their defense is a comedy show at points. Like some of the goals they've conceded by trying to play out the back, cringeworthy.
Do you know the best example of that? The Preston one.
Yeah,
which is like a memeable sort of goal, really.
What? Like a player of Luke Ayling's experience, just trying to, just don't get it. And then Michael Carrick after games saying that, it's fine. We're still, it wouldn't be a disaster. It wouldn't be a failure if we didn't get into the playoffs.
It would.
Come really?
Can I just ask a question to Annie? Really? That's a question, right? Do you? Because I agree with your Middlesbrough's forward line. Their forward line actually is definitely top 6 standard at the very least. What do you think of them defensively?
What,
player-wise? Yeah, because their defence does not convince me at all.
No.
I don't think individually it's bad. I don't think it's terrible.
Collectively it's not been performing, has it?
Again, Same point really with the forward line. I don't think individually it's actually pretty good. Defensive line is a bit of a lower standard, but it's still not bad. If you have Neto Borges or Ryan Giles at left back, if you have Rab Vandenberg, who's pretty good, Dale Fry, pretty good, either Ayling or Dijksteel, whoever's fit at right back, that's pretty good. And you have Mark Travers in goal, who's actually quite good for Middlesbrough. As a team, it's just not working. The only part of the team that looks like it's working is their midfield, and well, it's fine. If you've got nothing in front of you and you've got nothing behind you, it's like having a bagel in there. So it's completely pointless. And I think they're probably going to lose quite a few players this summer as well. Ben Doak, he's gone. That's a blow.
Yeah. Hayden
Hackney's definitely. If Middlesbrough don't get to the Premier League, yep, he's gone. Iheanacho, he's gone, and then players out of contract.
And we're lucky that I know our former director of football offered him to join Leeds, and we said no because we knew he was
good.
Way on, and he was not there.
To be fair though, right, just to add on to that, so I looked at the tally they finished on last year. They finished on 69 points last year and finished 8th. How weird would it be though if, say, for example, they finished 7th or even 6th on less points this year than what they did last year? But again, it comes back to the same problem. We talk about Hull losing head-to-heads down the bottom. I would argue Middlesbrough have probably done that too much.
They have, well.
So, for example, Bristol City being 1-0 up. Funny how Conway does that, and then look how that turned out at the end.
Yeah, they had that because
I mentioned that specifically for Annie because I thought you'd enjoy that. But Bristol City away,
they were on a 5 losing streak.
Exactly.
So that coming from the second half to the second half of the season, they were on a 5-game losing streak. And I think before that,
remember when they were after that? Sorry, Carl. After that, like horrendous run, they won like 3 and 4 or 4 and 5.
3 and 4, yeah.
And we all kind of went and looked at it and went, okay, that's good. But then we looked at the teams they played and went, right.
That's the thing.
What happens when they play Millwall? What happens when they play Norwich? What happens when you play an actually sort of team that's in a good moment? And
well, if you want to just compare, if you want to compare to how they've played against teams, say from Bristol City down towards Sheffield Wednesday, for example, in the top half, it's in recent weeks. Lost to Sheffield, lost to Swansea. Okay, West Brom in January they beat, fair enough. Blackburn likewise they beat, but then they lost the first game against Coventry. Obviously Coventry still got to play. Lost to Millwall, lost to Bristol City. It's head-to-heads. It's those. I know obviously Sheffield Wednesday and West Brom are not in there, but at the time they probably would have been considered head-to-heads, maybe less old Chef Wed. But the point is, when you're not winning, or you keep on losing the head-to-heads there, it's getting quite ridiculous. But the weird thing is, they are capable of beating some of the teams in there. Like if you look at, okay, they lost twice to Sunderland, fine, but they beat Sheffield United at home. They didn't lose to Burnley, and obviously lost twice to Leeds, but fair enough. Like Leeds are, for me, are still the best team in the league, even though they're second, which is weird. But game in hand and all that. But the point is, they are capable of bigger performances when they want to be capable of them. But like Annie said, and I completely agree with him, if you can't handle momentum shifts in a game and you can't handle, they're brittle. When something goes against them, they are brittle. And the Sheffield Wednesday game recently is a classic example of that, where you're 1-0 up. And bear in mind, they had a penalty, didn't they? At 1-0. And even if you miss it, psychologically it's not great, but you're still winning. You're still 1-0 up. And it's literally like the championship's gone. Middlesbrough, come and get the playoffs. No one above you is winning. Come and get the playoffs. Come on, come and get the playoffs. No, you don't want to, right? Okay, come and it just doesn't make sense. And yesterday, as much as I think Norwich's squad is a bit better than 14th, for example, but in this current situation Norwich are in, they had no excuse at home not to win that game. They had absolutely no... And if anything, Norwich looked like they had at least as good chances as Borough, if not the better ones. So...
They missed 2 one-on-ones, didn't they? Sargent...
Yes, they did, you're right.
Yeah. Who was it? Slimane or something?
Yeah, so,
Just for having less possession, Borough were... Yeah, they're pretty poor again.
Yeah, exactly. But, here's something to end it on with Borough, because I know Annie will appreciate this. It's funny how Tommy Conway left Bristol City to go to Borough, and yet it looks like Bristol City are going to finish above Borough and have more chance of getting in the playoffs than Borough. Which is just so the championship, isn't it? So it's... I think for me, if Carrick loses his job in the summer, if they don't get in the top 6, I think he hasn't got as much of a leg to stand on. If he doesn't go, then the pressure's going to be considerably on him next season.
Let's say, sorry, just quickly to end. If Borough do get, if Carrick leaves in the summer, are we going to have a position where Middlesbrough are going to try and completely rip up what they've done with Carrick in terms of style of play.
Probably.
And then, well, I'm not being funny, Carl. They've spent like 30 million on the one style of play.
Yeah.
It's
that wouldn't
Norwich
be,
Norwich as well. They've spent so much money investing in this style of play. If you want to go and try and shift it, you're going to have to spend another load of money. You're going to have to sell this bunch of players because they don't fit into. You might have to sell good players because they don't fit into what the new manager wants. So, if Carrick does leave, I think Borough have to try and find an evolution.
Mhm.
And what I will say with Carrick and with Hoftorp as well, who both look like if Borough don't make the playoffs, I think Carrick is cooked meat, really.
Yeah.
But let Torrup, a good manager. I quite liked what I saw from him. Norwich scored loads of goals.
Mhm.
When they started going on that bad run, I did not see a single iota of being adaptable, and neither has
That's the
Michael
problem.
Carrick. They have not been adaptable. The Championship is not a stroll in the park. It's not going to be, we're going to play this way every week and we're going to win every week. Unless you're Leeds, unless you're Sheffield United, unless you're Burnley and you just have superior squad to everyone in this league, you're not going to win. You're not going to win games like that every week.
No.
Sunderland have been really adaptable. When you've had the ball, pretty good. When you've had to defend, pretty good. Bristol City, really adaptable under Liam Manning. Coventry, they've been pretty adaptable. They showed at Luton they can defend for long spells. They're really good on the ball. There are teams in this league with some seriously good players who are struggling because their managers are trying to play this sort of philosophy and trying to implement that to a standard of players who are pretty good. You know, I wish I was a Championship footballer, right? But they're not Premier League quality, and to have. They're not the top in the world. So you're going to have to be adaptable. You're going to have to do the basics right. Middlesbrough haven't done that. Michael Carrick, hasn't done that. Giannis Torrup hasn't done that. And that's cost him his job, Torrup, and might well cost Carrick his job.
To be honest as well, like I think the last thing on Borough is that even if Carrick does go, it's not necessarily about ripping up the style of play. If they're smart, what Borough should be doing, play badminton. What Borough should be doing is if Carrick goes, find someone who plays in the mould that he does,
Yep.
but is also adaptable when things go against them. If they do that, and yes, okay, I can appreciate Hayden Hackney will probably go, Ben Doak will go back to Liverpool, but there still should be a good nucleus of a team enough to work with where a new head coach can come in and get better out of that squad. Because time and time again with Michael Carrick, it's proven to be reactive with substitutions, not adapting to certain situations, and that's ultimately the difference. Like Andy, you said, take Sunderland and Bristol City as two examples. They've both been adaptable when they've had to be this season, and that's probably why Sunderland are definitely in the playoffs and why Bristol City have a good chance of being in the playoffs. That often is the difference. Sometimes a head coach can win or lose you points on their own, but yeah. So it's a big summer ahead for Borough one way or another.
It's going to be a big summer for Borough, what they decide to do going forward with Michael Carrick or not. It really is, actually.
That would be interesting. Let's say that.
Rangers, I really don't, and I'm not going to lie. I think it's a hard one. I think it's the way he left for Villa, and I think that's ruined his reputation a little bit. And then he can go to Saudi. It's a questionable one, but I don't know if they should go for one big player like Michael Carrick to Jared. I think that it doesn't work. I don't think it's going to work out in that way. I really don't. But who knows? Right, let's try and finish off quickly. Two teams that still not ruled out of the playoff contention. Blackburn winning 2-1 against Watford, and Millwall winning 1-0 against Swansea City. Michael, I'll come to you about Blackburn. They're still in this. I thought they were gone and buried.
So did I. But yeah, I mean, they're only out of it on goal difference. Sorry, by 1 point, I mean. But they've got the best. Yeah, so that's mental. For them, probably the best thing that could happen, and I can weirdly see them beating Sheffield United, and I'm only saying that because Sheffield United obviously are out of the top two. If Sheffield United was still fighting for top two, forget it. I wouldn't have seen Blackburn getting a sniff at Sheffield United. But I think from Blackburn's point of view, they'll be thinking, yeah, okay, Sheffield United's in third, but the best they've got to play for is preparing for the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of Gustavo Hamer doesn't play that game, for example, who's one of their better players. Blackburn will be thinking, why not? Go for it. What have you got to lose? So yeah, but no, Ismail replacing Eustace. I remember there was a point when it was very toxic, actually, funny enough, when they lost to Borough, when we've just been slating Borough for like 10 minutes. But when they lost to Borough, the atmosphere was so toxic because I watched that game. And they've turned it round. Absolutely, to be fair. I mean, obviously, that when you've got players like, say, Todd Cantwell or Tyrese Dolan, massive, massive help. And to be fair, they've smashed Millwall at home. They won away at Sunderland. They've obviously came from behind to win this game. Fair play. Fair play to them for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's well fair play. Nathan, like I said, Millwall still in it. I don't know how Alex News is turned this Millwall side around. They've won 6 out of the last 5 games. Sorry, 5
I was going to say 6 of their last 5. That's impressive, isn't it?
I know. No math. Do you know what the wee thing was? Because I was at a ball game night on Friday night, and I was like, we sit to all the friends, no math. Just the game.
You won 6 of your last 5, so you've won 110% win record.
They won 5 of the last 6 games. Are you surprised how much there's still potential?
I am, especially even with like the performances. Like I cast my mind back to when they played. It was a Sheffield United. What was it? They got absolutely battered the whole game and come out with a victory. Like just taking their only chance of the entire game. This is just typical Alex Neil ball, isn't it? Like he did it at Stoke. He did it kind of in a way at Sunderland until he snaked you guys completely. But I got to say, fair play to the guy for keeping him in contention. I mean, they got a squad that's punching above their weight, and he's done a good job there as far as I'm concerned. And he beat Swansea, so...
Can I just point out as well? Yeah, I can imagine you would have at least had one slight thing to laugh about. To be fair, we talk about head coaches being adaptable. That's as much as I hate Lord Voldemort the Snake. But take out my feelings towards him, right? Like, that's an example of someone who's adaptable.
Yeah.
That's why Millwall are above Borough at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely as well, absolutely. Right, do you know what? We're getting into our last couple of fixture results. Michael, I'll leave yours for a bit. I think we do need to get on to the icing on the cake. And look, Nathan, I know, I'd say the 0-0 draw yesterday was not helping. I'm going to let you give the floor is yours.
I don't even quite know where to start. It's just completely demoralising, isn't it? I knew we were down before a ball was kicked, but with the way that it just ended, and I was hoping that we could have potentially took it to the final day with how bad West Brom had been, but everything just didn't go our way at all yesterday. And at the end of the day, it's been all these years coming, hasn't it? We've been floating around the plug hole for years with the just absolute mismanagement all over the place. I will say it, we were poor yesterday, did what we did all season, couldn't put away our chances, drew another match that takes up to 19 draws this season, which is absolutely criminal. We haven't even won 10 games this year. It's just absolutely pathetic. And yeah, League One football for the first time in 23 years next season, and yeah, we won't be back for a long time. That's all I will say. We're going to be in the absolute sink of League One as far as I'm concerned. I can even see us taking a trip to League Two if things really don't go our way, and Tan's still in charge as far as I'm concerned. And it's just toxic and hell on earth. And to be honest, I don't have a positive thing to say right now about that club. I'm just absolutely sick of them, to be honest. I'm absolutely fuming.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Like we said all along, like it's just how many. I'm running out of new ways to say that muppet up at the top, but like the fact he comes out and doesn't want to spend much money. He makes like really poor appointment after poor appointment. Obviously, I'm not going to include Aaron Ramsey in that because he's been chucked under the bus, as you've said, rightly said. And then, but demanding £300 million for the club. I mean, like I said, what planet is this guy's head living on? Like,
it's absolutely crazy because apparently I don't know whether this was true or not, but it's come from a pretty good source. He was actually offered over 100 million for the club. He turned it down because it wasn't enough money, and he wanted, £300 million up front. Bearing in mind, this prospect owner was happy to have the debt paid off in instalments, so he'd keep paying off Tan. Tan said no, he wanted it all up front, so it's just completely greedy in my eyes and absolute disgrace.
Yeah, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Year 3, year 4, remember the time, because we just played you guys in the FA Cup and you knocked us out and Leeds the 2003, but don't forget about that.
It's a frightening thought, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Nathan, just out of interest to ask you, so what's your thought on the direction in terms of like what players are going to leave in the summer, about what head coach you're going to appoint or manager, what the hell's going to go on there, do you think? I appreciate it's early to tell, so you won't know for sure. But like, what's your gut tell you at the minute, even if it's subject to change?
So, considering what I've seen about the finances, there's going to be a lot of movement in the summer, and with the amount of money that we're going to be losing now, there's going to be just very little investment. Full stop. I can see the likes of Perry NG leaving, even though a lot of people haven't said he hasn't been great. So we're probably going to make a loss on him. A lot of the high earners are going to have to go, especially sad. It pains me to say it, but the likes of Callum Chambers to ease off the wage bill. Like, we've got the 8th highest wage bill in the league. Like, you're getting relegated, finishing bottom of the league. How on earth have you managed that? Like, I know, I understand we're one of the biggest sized clubs in the league, but to do that's just completely specialist. So I think there's going to be a lot of rotation out the door. A lot of the dead wood needs to go. It just seems like we're always just harvesting dead wood at this club. Just whenever we get rid of 2 players that are dead wood, we bring in another 5, which I just find is absolutely crazy. But as long as we keep the core of the squad, so keep the youngsters in, keep your use of Salex if we're lucky. Like, he's been great as soon as he's come in, but it wouldn't be surprised if we cash in on him, to be honest. If we keep the likes of Salek, keep the likes of Joe Rolls, keep the likes of Ruben Colwell, Kean Ashford, and at the back, just God knows, because everyone's been played out of their position all season. O'Dowda's got to stay for me if we can keep him, unless he hands in a transfer request tomorrow, which there could be a big possibility of it. But God knows, mate. In terms of manager, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be like pulling a name out of a hat for me.
That's what Reece has just done right there.
Yeah.
Could
be anyone, mate. Like, we already know that Tan's just had enough, and hence why he bought Reeser in, because he didn't want to have to pay off any more managers. It's going to be a cheap appointment again, lads, and I think it's going to be a disaster, absolute disaster.
But it's funny how when you say he doesn't want to pay more managers and all that, but then if he got offered £100 million for the club and turned it down, like, you made a rod for your own back.
Absolutely.
There are comparisons to Huddersfield last season. Maybe not in terms of the ownership, because Huddersfield's ownership actually, like, they look like they care, but they're not doing the right things.
I know.
But Huddersfield went down, and they're kind of in mid-table. They're not really going anywhere. They've got a really good squad for League One, but feels like something's not right with the ownership.
No.
I can see a little bit of sort of similarities between.
I did say
there's big comparisons there.
When I was watching Kieran Nango's when he was approached by club, he was looking at clubs more mainly around in League One. That was his original plan before Huddersfield came to fruition. It came to fruition on his table, and that surprised me of how much they've really, because I think Huddersfield spent more than £4 million on 2 players in the January.
Yeah, Joe Taylor and Dion Charles both went for like $5 million, which is craziness.
And they've been on a losing run. And as I said, there's been rumours of David Van going back to the club. There's been a few other managers there, and even Des Bunkerman was linked with the club, but Des Bunker's now linked with the Hearts job because we sat Neil Critchley, who was the ex-Blackpool manager. So there's going to be a lot of manager go around between in England and also Scotland in this summer as well, but mainly in England. But as I said, I just think we're so talented. At the moment, they try to focus on. I just think they focus on the wrong areas because they just got rid of their director of football. So.
That's a comparison that you've got to work out as well. I know that there's something not right upstairs, and there's just I find it as a lack of investment and interest there. But at the end of the day, they have the footballing structure there that just can't get it right. With us, Tan has to sign off all the decisions, and we've got 2 just completely absent, a chief exec that's completely absent, and a chairman that's completely. That just makes me ill just thinking about it. Michael, welcome in, but. Like, at the end of the day, Ken Shu literally runs a car business out of the stadium. It's that ridiculous. He's not barely there half the time. Mehmet Dalman just pops up when he wants, and if they want to sack a manager, it's got to go through Vincent Han, who sends a text message and says, sack him in the morning. Like, how can you run a football club like that? It's just depressing to think about, The
thing with League One next season is I think it will be really strong. Obviously, Birmingham and Wrexham going up is like a few, because they'll be... If Wrexham didn't go up, Birmingham were already going to go up. But if Wrexham didn't go up, they'd be like heavy spenders.
Oh, definitely.
I can see a little bit of a regression maybe from Wickham. But if Charlton don't go up, or Stockport don't go up, they're
They'll
going to
be up there
really
again,
strong.
yeah.
Stockport,
They'll be
yeah.
really strong. Bolton, surely under Schumacher, are going to be like properly challenging for the top two. Barnsley, they're a big club for that division. Are they going to be up there?
Huddersfield, if they get a couple of decisions right.
Huddersfield, if
Yeah.
they appoint the right manager
Rotherham.
with a really good squad. Rotherham, yeah.
Rotherham, aren't they?
Well, don't tell Ant that, sorry.
Go
But
to
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Plymouth going down, if they keep Muslic and they keep a core of that squad and they add a little bit more.
Then the future of Reading as well, because Reading's situation.
Reading,
yeah.
I can see Reading being actually quite good for a couple of seasons in League One if they don't manage to go up this season. Leighton Orient,
Getting new owners in as well.
Yeah.
Leighton Orient are a funny club because they're sort of upwardly
They just recently
mobile
got
every
taken
season.
over by US Consortium just recently.
Yeah, they'll be really strong again next season. So for Cardiff, it's not going to be a cakewalk like Birmingham have. Like you're not going to spend the money Birmingham have and appoint a good manager and kind of see that out. I don't think anyway. But because it will be a drag. League One is always your words. It's a slog. It's a right sort of welcome to sort of traditional English football in a way. When you're going away to respect like Stevenage and Northampton and Burton. Again, not Burton by the way. Next season, watch out for them.
I've been there up to the old Pirelli, a nice little Kenneth Zahor last minute winner. Great away day, but back to Burton again, isn't it? Just thinking about some of these away days, some make me happy, but some are just like, oh.
Port Vale away, Nathan?
So the fact that the gas have gone down as well just makes it more depressing because literally our nearest away game is like 2.5 hours, which is just,
And the gap between League Two and League One, as proved by Stockport, Wrexham in recent years, is actually not. Leighton Orient, Mansfield this season, they've stayed up quite relatively comfortably. The gap between League Two and League One is actually not that big anymore. Same with the National League and League Two. So there are going to be teams in there who are going to just sort of stay in the middle or even push for the playoffs. So yeah,
sorry, Nathan, we've just totally and utterly depressed you even more.
It's
true though,
fun old division, League One.
Be prepared for the fact that everyone sees you as one of the big fish, and they'll come out with sorry, my language here. They'll come out with utter bollocks about how you don't have a right to expect to go up, but then they'll also turn up against you like you're a cup final, which totally contradicts.
They all will because at the end of the day,
contradicts itself. By the way, but there you go.
It massively does because I've seen a lot of people who are sort of describing us as Birmingham 2.0 with obviously the size of the club. That's not to me being arrogant, like the size of the club that's going down, size of the fan base, the size of the fan base that's not going to be there at the end of the day. But
I can see some of your stands closing during next season. Like
I think so.
Yeah.
But again, it all comes down to one man.
Yep.
Scott Parker's just won manager of the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's not a surprise, though.
Do you know, to be fair, right, if you're going to quickly talk about manager of the season, I think... Sorry to spare Nathan any more thoughts on being clinically depressed with Cardiff, bless him, but I think with Scott Parker, for me, he was out of the top four, he's the one I probably would have picked. Not because of the fact that, like, look, I'm expecting Leeds to win the league, to be totally honest, but I think if you look at it, Scott, the amount of clean sheets, the amount of games unbeaten, the amount of... the lack of the number of goals conceded, the defensive record, it's a record-breaking season for Burnley.
Leeds.
So to be honest, exactly. So I'm personally not surprised that Scott Parker's won it. He's probably the one that I would have given it to. I know me and Annie were talking about this last week and about how he said he felt that Regis Labrise has obviously probably done the better job in terms of getting Sunderland forward. For me, I would give it to Regis Labrise if Sunderland win the playoffs. But as of right now, I'd give it to Scott Parker.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I think they've already broken the record completely. Leeds, even though they've done well with their record as well, we were the two teams that have broken.
Isn't it crazy that Leeds have like the second best defensive record of all time as well in the Championship, but no one cares because Burnley. Yeah, crazy.
To be fair though, right? If you're gonna, I mean, obviously we know we skimmed over Burnley's game, but if you look at it, one of the good things that Burnley's done, apart from the fact they've been freaks defensively, and as someone who loves keeping clean sheets and being good defensively, I'm glad that Burnley went up because it further dispels the myth that the defence isn't as good important as the attack and everything. For me, look, there could be issues in the Prem, whatever. That's a conversation. Like with Leeds, that's a conversation for another day. You've got to just make sure you enjoy the ride at the moment. But one of the things that Burnley have done now is they've started to score a lot more as well. And that's one of the biggest things where if you're good defensively, it makes such a difference going forward because you could afford to miss chances repeatedly, but eventually if you just don't concede, one of them will go in and there's enough to win you the game. And yesterday, they absolutely dismantled QPR, absolutely destroyed them. And it just goes to show how, there's a factor of QPR on the beach. Hopefully they are for next Saturday up at Sunderland, but I think from Burnley's point of view, you look, even if Burnley don't end up winning the league, look, what is it? Both Leeds and Burnley could finish on 100 points. And I said the tally this season wasn't going to be as good as last year, which I guess just shows what I know, doesn't it? So, but yeah, look, from Burnley's point of view, cracking to get that many wins. And one of the signings that's probably helped make the difference is Marcus Edwards on loan in January. Because
they'll get on a permanent deal. I think that will be done.
Yeah.
I think they will do that. That will be the first thing they'll need to do.
And am I right in thinking Jaden Anthony's gone? Am I right in thinking Jaden Anthony's gone there permanently in an obligation now? They've gone up as well. Yeah. So yeah, no, but to be fair play to towards Burnley. Just quickly on QPR though, you've probably seen the reports today that came out with Sky Sports that apparently Marty Cifuentes is in talks with West Brom to become their new manager. Now, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I think that he's someone who has been quite good at building a structure and building a team to be hard to beat and everything. And when you consider the start QPR have had, they've probably not had the worst season in the world in terms of being where they are, even though their fans obviously won't like what they're seeing at the minute. I actually think for the way that because obviously if you look at Tony Mowbray getting sacked, Carlos Corberán and Tony Mowbray is like two completely different styles. It's two completely different ways of playing. Yeah. And I think Martin Cifuentes is a lot closer to Corberán than what Mowbray would have been, if that makes sense. So I actually think if Cifuentes goes to West Brom, I think that's a very solid appointment personally, but I don't know what either of you think.
I do agree. I think that will be a good appointment for him because I think West Brom, in a way,
step up in club size as well and step up in.
Yeah, I know, and I think with Tony Mowbray were in, everyone was glad to see him back. But I think that was it going to work out, and it neither has it. And I think that's been disappointed. For Tony Mowbray, coming back after coming back from a very health, a long, nearly cost him his life, his health completely. Yeah. He's come back,
that's the main thing.
And then we thought he could try to get this. He knows the club, and it's not worked out because, like I said, they couldn't spend the money, they couldn't get the best out of Adam Armstrong, who joined on loan for Southampton, which was disappointed. So, I think for them to go and get Fuentes, it's going to be the right deal. It'll be the right fit of what they want.
Yeah. And it's also going to be good for this to be resolved if this happens ahead of the summer and ahead of next season. So it gives them a bit of
football. It will be because we're going to have loads of managerials of appointments.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, if you got to look at, I would worry for QPR if this move happens. But from West Brom's point of view, if they get Cifuentes, I think that's really solid. It's a sensible decision. It's much closer in line, from what I can recall anyway, to what Carlos Corberán was doing. That team was built to play Carlos Corberán way of playing, and I think that if they can add to that and keep going in the summer, they should be challenging next season, especially if they get Cifuentes. For me,
yeah, I think they will do.
I don't know what either of the other two think. You think about Cifuentes to West Brom potentially?
No, I agree with that. It's more in line with Corberán, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
as
likewise.
Well. Right, Michael, coming to your club. Before we finish, you guys on the last. I have to say, it looks like guys are getting ready for the playoffs. And I know you're not playing your full strength squad, but disappointing result yesterday at Oxford, despite Oxford now are safe.
Let's quickly touch from the Oxford perspective. To be honest, as soon as I saw the Luton Coventry result, I thought we were going to get beat because if you look at who the game was bigger for, and by the way, that doesn't because we actually played close to a strong team yesterday. So good for getting ready for the playoffs in some style. But if you look at it from an Oxford point of view, they were really good yesterday. They were really good in the sense of how solid and organised they were, how aggressive they were at the right moments, how they took their two chances when they needed to, and I talked about manager of the seasons again. I think for me, and I stand by. I said in my video, I think that this is probably the weakest squad on paper Gary Rowett's had to work with. It's the lowest budget he will have had to work with. And that's no slight on Oxford. That's just how it is. He's been at Derby, he's been at Stoke, been at Millwall, and there's one other club he's been to, and I've forgotten, Birmingham as well in the past.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you compare the Birmingham squad he had last year to the Oxford one this year, on paper the one he had last year was better, but the togetherness of this squad is what's carried them over the line. And they've obviously got some decent players, you know, like Siriki Dembele. They had, was it Ben Nelson? Ben Nelson from on loan from Leicester, who scored a really good header yesterday. So from Oxford's point of view, that is a fantastic victory for them. It keeps them safe for another season. And again, I've said this across the season from an Oxford point of view, the decision to sack Des Buckingham was one that was raised considerable eyebrows at the time. Now, categorically, their owner can come out and say that decision's probably kept them in the Championship, because while I can understand Des Buckingham, obviously they've had 2 good seasons in getting up and staying up, but Des Buckingham, for me, big question marks on whether he would have been able to keep them up or whether the early results were riding the crest wave on the back of getting promotion. Whereas with Gary Rowett, it's probably one of the best appointment decisions that's happened this season. And it meant that Oxford have another season of Championship football. And if you're looking at the game yesterday, the scoreline and the result was the correct one. It was one where you could tell right from the off Oxford were bang up for it. Last home game of the season. And it was probably not the best environment for our players to thrive in, even though I still believe the main reason... Oxford, for me, and I'd best describe it as playing at levels. We played about 50 to 60%. Oxford, wouldn't surprise me, they played at 80 to 90 to 100%. And that's sort of the big difference. But the result was absolutely deserved. And they had a one-on-one chance, that if you saw on the highlights, they had a one-on-one chance at 2-0 that they should have scored, which Anthony Patterson saved, which somehow the referee gave a goal kick for, which was mental. But either way, the result didn't cost them in the end. The result was absolutely deserved, and Gary Rowett has done an unbelievable job. I know he went through a bit of a bad run, but he's kept Oxford United in the Championship. Like, I think that's got to be up there for one of the best jobs this season, and maybe not to win Manager of the Season. I know Parker's won it, obviously, but not enough to be nominated for Manager of the Season. But it's got to be worth a mention of how good a job he has done in keeping Oxford up. And fair play to Oxford for them for yesterday and for staying up, because that is a phenomenal effort from them, and it means they can go into the last game. Obviously, Nathan will probably be hoping that they win, but the last game they can at least go into it and say, right, you know what, dead rubber, and that's the best thing to say about it from Oxford's perspective. So yeah, no, I'm gonna, as soon as the Luton result happened, I thought, oh shit, we're gonna lose because of how big the game was. But for them, I mean, quickly. So yeah, I didn't want to make it about Sunderland just being poor. I want to make it about Oxford being deserving of the win and deserving to stay up as well. And remember, they've beaten Sunderland, they've beaten Sheffield United across along the way as well. They were right in the game against Leeds and could have possibly nicked something. They've had to do it the difficult way. They've beaten 2 of the top 4 at home in recent weeks, and only just narrowly losing to the other one. So that, incredible effort. And yeah, quickly on for Sunderland. I mean, we need to beat QPR next week to get a bit of good move for the playoffs. I have said that the form doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as much as what I thought it would. But the only saving grace we've got is I don't think anyone who's currently in the playoffs are in scintillating form. I think Bristol City in the last 6 games, out of the teams currently in the playoffs, are the best of the form teams. And even then, out of 6 games, they've got 10 points, I believe. I might be wrong on that one. So, but yeah, it's going to be... I'm going to be interested to see who we're going to face, but there's no doubt in my mind we need to play a lot better than we did yesterday to have a chance of going up. Because I still believe we've got the team to do it. I still believe we have the team to go all the way and to get promoted, but we need to showcase it. It's one thing me saying it.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Do you know what, gentlemen? As we're coming to the end of the show, let's bring up the table just about. So at the moment, Burnley are back on top, but from home.
That playoff race, man.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Leeds could go back on top if they win against Bristol City tomorrow night. And like I said, the top 6 is not finalised yet. So the last 2 places, as Millwall, Blackburn, are still on Bristol City and Coventry City's rear end at the moment to try and catch them up.
Genuinely, I can't wait to see Ant if Millwall get into the playoffs and Coventry bottle it. That would be absolute squeeze.
I know.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I would absolutely love to.
Middlesbrough still kind of has an outside chance, but it's kind of over. Mathematically, it's kind of over for them at the moment.
You know what the story, the quick thing is with Borough? I wouldn't put it past Millwall and Blackburn not getting anything. The problem is I don't trust Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I agree as well. As West Brom will in 10th with Swansea behind them, and Sheffield Wednesday are now in 12th place. at the bottom of the table. It's a Cardiff City, unfortunately, have been relegated. Plymouth have, even though they're not mathematically, they're not
They're
confirmed
all but
relegated,
mathematically
but
down, aren't they?
mathematically now it's possible. So it's the final battle between Hull, Luton, Preston, and Derby County.
This league, man.
Mad.
By just very quickly, great effort from Pompey as well. I forgot to mention, since we last spoke, they managed to secure safety. So credit to John Messino for the job he's done this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's done a really good job. A really, really good job.
I just can't stop looking at it. How have we finished bottom of the league with Plymouth being so bad, and how have we only lost 9 games? 9 games this season.
I know it's hard to process. Listen, I just said it's going to be a long season for you guys next season, and it might be for quite a while for you guys to be back.
Really. Right, let's stop beating them. You know the Simpsons meme, stop beating them while they're already dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fixtures for next Saturday, the final day of the season, Bristol have to wait to confirm themselves in the playoff against Preston. Millwall needs to do that in a session. They're going against a really good group side who are fighting to be champions. Leeds are away at to play for Gal as well at the same time to also try to finish as champions. And it's a big bottom of the table clash between looking at the Derby County, Stoke City. Hull City go away to Portsmouth. Luton away at West Brom. Just seeing here some other fixtures.
Here's a challenge for you guys. Call who's going to finish 22nd and who's going to get in the playoffs.
I'd rather not do the latter.
I'm going to say Preston. Preston will go 22nd.
Do you know what I'm going to say? I think Preston as well.
Yeah, Preston.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Preston or Hull, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be one of them two, but I fancy Hull to win at Portsmouth for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I think Preston will lose at Bristol City. I know, and he's going to cross everything he's got to hope that's right. And for the playoffs, I think it's going to be the two that's in there right now. It's just a question of what order.
I think
it's there. It's Bristol City and Coventry for me. I'm just not sure on the order.
Yeah,
but then again,
one thing that I'm going to do an absolutely mental prediction. I think Borough are going to beat Coventry, and Millwall are actually going to get to somehow take points off Burnley. There you are. There's your last 2 spaces.
Bristol now, when you say points, is that a win or a draw?
A win.
Yeah, because Burnley haven't lost at home this season, have they?
They haven't. No. There's going to be the Burnley going to lose at home.
So am I right in thinking? Are you thinking Bristol City and Millwall in 5th and 6th?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Bristol City and Coventry, but I'd say that'd be insane from Millwall if they finish in there.
I'd love to see it because, as far as I'm concerned, Millwall beat Sheffield United, who will finish in 3rd place. Set up a playoff final with Bristol City. Millwall get promoted to the Premier League. Sorry, Annie.
Yeah. I think it will probably be us and Coventry. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I would love that to happen. And I think I ran through some of the things, and I was like, okay, we win, we're definitely 5th. Nothing's affected. If we get a draw, we are more than likely to get in there with Millwall and Blackburn's fixtures. And Blackburn would need to win, depending on the goal difference tomorrow. Let's say we lose by 1. Blackburn would need to win 3-0 at Sheffield United, or by 3 goals to get ahead of us. Coventry need to win as well. If we lose, it's completely out of our hands. But we need Coventry and Borough to draw if we're to finish 5th. But again, we'd need Millwall and Blackburn not to win, and I can see that happening. And if that doesn't happen, if Coventry win, doesn't really matter because we still finish 6th. So I'd see, even if we draw against Preston, I think we'd get in there. If that's 5th or 6th, honestly, I don't care. I think it's just about getting in there, and I think even with a point against the side who have been pretty poor under Ashton Gay, where we've been
very
sensational,
strong.
Very strong. I'd see us winning. Touch wood.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about you, Carl?
What's the team news for your boys tomorrow?
We have no defenders, Carl.
Bloody hell! Yeah, right.
Okay, that might be a bit of a hyperbole, but Campering went off injured against Luton. He's definitely not going to play. He's probably not going to play for the rest of the season. So there's your left centre back gone. Mark Sykes is out injured, so there's your right wing back gone. Joe Williams is probably not going to play, so there's your centre midfielder gone. And it'll probably be Hayden Roberts, who has not really started that many games for us this season. We'll play at left centre back. We're probably going to play Ross McCrory at left wing back, who's naturally a right wing back. He's actually played quite well at left wing back, so he'll play there. And he'll play George Tanner at right wing back, who scored a goal against Luton, to be fair to him, but major concerns with Tanner in terms of attacking wise. So I don't know. Defensively, we're really light and we're really short because of the players, but rest of the pitch we look okay. And even if Joe Williams wasn't to play, we'd still have, hopefully, touch wood, Max Bird and Jason Knight in there, so that's pretty okay. I know you don't have Strawick, is that right?
No, Strawick is out for the season, so he won't be back till the summer now. So that's one. I think for I was seeing earlier as well, from what he said earlier this week. So Joe Werfel could be back in contention this week. Hopefully Daniel James should be back also in the squad as well. So yeah.
Great. We can't deal with pace. So that's great that we're having the quickest player in the championship available. That'll be nice. With no centre backs as well, by the way. So,
well, like I said, we'll see. Listen, gentlemen, like I said, this is the show. The last show is next week. Actually, I want you guys to do this for me. I want you to have your own team of the season of your own choosing, of your own version.
So you're talking across the whole championship?
Yeah, the whole championship. Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm going to let you guys do a start with that, and I'm going to look at who you guys chose for your own 11.
Okay. Can I have Islam Elie in goal? Imagine that.
We're doing this now. Is it for next week?
Next week. After the season's done.
I thought you meant right now.
No, on the spot.
Put us on the spot, lads.
Let's do after the final day of the season. Let's do that.
Do you mean do what the EFL should do?
Yes.
Wait until the season is concluded.
But I want your individual team of the seasons.
Right, okay. All right.
Should we have a rule of only one player from
You can have your own or whatever. Decide,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't think Nathan's going to pick anybody from Cardiff, put it that way.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know, Reese is just making a good point, actually.
Make it only two.
Make it only 2 players allowed from Leeds and Burnley as well.
So does he mean 2 players, so say 1 from each, or does he mean 2 allowed from each club? So 4
2
players.
from each club.
Right, okay then. Okay.
Actually, yeah, I think he said 2. Look at the 2 from each club.
Right, there's one straight away. Just have the 2 Burnley centre backs, Egan Riley and Esteve.
What about Trafford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it 2, but instead of naming 3, 4 from those 2 because they're top performing teams. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
to be fair, I mean that's a fair one because Sheffield United are near 90 points, aren't they? So yeah, it's, and you've got to bear in mind who's performed well for each individual sort of club. Okay, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I like
that stipulation for Reese. That makes a good point. Okay,
can I
we'll do that next week of our own individual.
Yeah. Just one last question, because whether Carl can say he wants to say, I don't know. Who's winning the league?
Leeds.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, Annie. I think that Leeds will win tomorrow. I'm sure. I think you said it as well. I think Leeds will win their last 2, and I think that'll prove to be enough. Obviously.
Yeah, that's fine. Right. Yeah, 2 max from each club. That will make sense. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Don't go any beyond that. So yeah, I will do my own. Michael, you do yours. Same with Annie and Nathan. And do you know what we need to get Ant on next week?
Definitely.
Get Ant on next week. And
just no Coventry players and Ant's one.
No way. I think yeah.
No, he would genuinely go, right, Brad Collins is in team of the season.
He
single-handedly cost Coventry playoffs.
Yeah, it does make it interesting. Yeah, no, we should do that next Sunday, and we'll get in, we'll make it fair, because we're fairer than doing because the EFL, no disrespect for what they chose tonight. I was like...
But I'll tell you, okay, fair. As of right now, what my final question is, if you guys had to pick a manager of the season on your own terms, who would you pick?
Regis Lebris. Is that how you say it?
Lebris, yeah.
Say Lebris. Yeah. I've heard both pronunciations.
It's between Lebris and Manning because both.
And Parker. I'd say Parker is in there. I think Parker's very deserving.
I'd say personally, Parker, Manning, if he gets Bristol City playoffs, Regis Labrise if Sunderland win the playoffs. I'd say John Eustace. I'd throw Rowett in there. Not maybe who wins it, but who would be it. But
For
I think Rowett
pushing
deserves a
Oxford,
mention.
definitely.
Sorry?
For definitely pushing Oxford, I think, Rowett gets a shout.
I think Narcissus Pellets deserves a shout now.
Yeah, if we're doing the Razzie version of this, yes.
Yeah.
Like the film, you have the Oscars and the Razzie Awards. You can say who the worst manager of the season's been.
Oh, now we're talking.
We already know that one.
Well,
it's Pellets, surely. Or Volta.
To be fair, statistically, it's Ryan Law. He's got a 100% losing record this season.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
With Bullet as well.
Probably.
Bullet has a terrible one because he's got 1 point in 7, didn't he?
1 point in 7 and sack.
And bear in mind, I know that obviously Cardiff were flaky last season.
I'll put Rooney's Rooney's probably the worst, actually.
He was terrible.
How does he keep getting forget it, yeah.
There's no point. There's no point.
I would have said Ishmael 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, but look how that's turned out. We both.
That actually should be a conversation for next week. Say who the biggest underperformers have been, manager or team or whatever, and then who's in the most unsung shout or.
Yeah, we should do that. No, we'll do. We'll do.
Do the panels on individual EFL awards.
Nice little debrief over what's been another chef's kiss of a championship season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could just go Annie's standout club of the season, Bristol Rovers.
I mean, they are providing free comedy for the rest of the EFL, so.
It's in there.
South of the river is very grateful, lads.
Remember, Bristol Rovers have their own Netflix documentary, Rovers Till I Die.
Oh, God. Okay. Oh, cool. Last question before we go, actually. Does Parker do better than Company in terms of Burnley in the Premier League?
That depends for me on who Burnley signed in the summer.
Definitely.
I can see the argument because a lot of the clubs have tried to do, right, let's just play our way and screw the Premier League. You can't do that anymore. You have to
Yes, Parker, it's obviously it's his third club now. Been at Bournemouth, been at Fulham twice. At the end of the day, his track record in the Premier League is shocking, so he is going to have to switch it up.
Yeah,
exactly. I think the problem I would have with Burnley is how if you want to look at it really, they've scored 66 goals.
Yeah.
Point of Star Wars episode 3.
They're going to have a worse defence. It's just about the attack.
Yeah, this is the thing, because if you look at their 66 goals, it's so funny. I've got one of the Star Wars movies, Revenge of the Sith, came out the other day, Order 66, which is quite funny. Yes, I'm a big nerd. But if you look at it this way, out of the 66 goals they've scored, I think it was something 20 or 25 of them came across 5 games. So if you look at what was it? Sorry, Nathan. 5 against Cardiff, 4 against Luton, 4 against Sheffield. Don't get the score for quite a few times. 5 against QPR, 5 against Plymouth. But if you take out, say, the half a dozen games, they generally haven't scored very much. So in the Premier League, they're going to find it a lot harder to create chances, or to take chances, I should say.
If they continue to play tight games, which is what they've been doing all season pretty much, because of the quality disparity, they're probably going to lose a lot more of those tight games. So they're probably going to be losing a lot of games 1-0 or 2-1, and we'll all be sat here going, "Oh, they're unlucky in that. Oh, this is unlucky. That was unlucky." I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Burnley run where they lose 10, 5 or 6 in a row, and it's all relatively tight. I think that's a direct if that happens, it would be a direct translation of the style of play. We'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, but I think it gives them more of a chance in games, and compared to Company. I also think Company and that Burnley at that point made a mistake in not signing up their loan players.
Yeah,
which were so successful, like Taylor Harwood-Bellis, like Ian Matson, whoever it was. I think they made a mistake in that, and they didn't trust the team that got them promoted enough, like Benson, Zarori, Cullen, all of them. They were kind of just binned off a little bit. So yeah, I would think Parker trusts this group of players more than what Company did, and they wouldn't be a complete they wouldn't spend £100 million again on 20 new players or whatever they did last summer. I think they'll be a little bit more stable. If that's probably a good thing, actually.
It will be good for him because I think the Company was very. He did change his squad quite a lot last season. Some of the players he was not playing as much, who got them promoted.
But you talk about managers. You talk about managers being adaptable, though. There's another example of someone who wasn't in the Premier League.
Yeah. To be fair to Company, a lot of the players that were signed last summer have actually really been impressive in this promotion, like Esteve, Egan Riley, Foster, Koleosho, people like that. They've been really good this summer. This season for Parker.
Last question I'll ask before we wrap it up: will Farker or Parker? Sounds weird. It's like a rhyme. Farker and Parker, will they both be there in a year's time at their respective clubs?
One of them won't be.
One club, yeah.
I've got a feeling both won't be.
I think
I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably say it's more likely that Fark won't be, to be honest. I think Leeds will move very quickly if they have ambition.
Yeah.
Which with Red Bull takeover,
I think Parker's more likely to stay than Parker is.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yes,
for now, Carl, enjoy promotion at least.
I will do. But listen,
don't win 6-0 tomorrow, mate, please.
I can't guarantee you that one.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't win 6-0. I don't want Coventry finishing 5th. So
can we just shake hands on a 1-0 defeat and they'll just save our goal difference? That'll be quite nice.
1-0 defeat gets Leeds back at the top, man, Carl. How are you?
Yeah, I know. I'll
tell you what, Carl, how about this? You win 1-0 tomorrow, and then you spank Plymouth on the final day, and then Cardiff win at Norwich, and then at least Nathan can say, at least I finished above someone.
Which ain't happening.
That's
true, yeah. I think... listen, I can't guarantee you the number of goals, but we'll try not to score more than one.
We'll try not to score goals.
But if it's 2 or more, you can come and blame us for that one.
I put it this way: I'd be surprised if you scored more than 3.
Well, listen, Piro's he's trying to make sure that golden boot is more solidified. He already got the golden boot, so yeah.
He'll probably win it, but without scoring any more goals this season. With how the rest of the.
Do you know what'll happen now though? Bristol City will lose 1-0 and then say Bristol City will lose 1-0 and they'll end up like scoring the own goal for them. Rob Dickey
honestly,
goal. If he's
whatever,
still not injured.
Fine, yeah.
If you score a goal and we like concede, and you only concede at least 3, at least that will help you a bit with some of the goal difference. Can't guarantee you.
To be fair to Annie,
mate, you've got plus 60 goal difference. Just take a chill.
Just take it easy on us, you know.
Yeah, just take a chill.
Yeah, I know. But
he's going to go the full Coventry route, like I say, if Leeds hammer you and go, it's just not fair. to be fair though, right? To be fair though, from Annie's point of view, the good thing you've got is you're in the driving seat. You just need, even if just a win next Saturday, for example, does it, then it makes tomorrow irrelevant. But
yeah, I'll be watching the game tomorrow. So let's just, regardless what's going to happen.
There you go, Michael. There's a bit of a positivity for Annie. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, one can hope.
We'll hope as well. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you very much as always. I will see you guys at the same time next week. That's all we got time for here on the Championship Review. Next week's show is the final show next Sunday of the season. I don't know if we'll do a playoff review yet. We'll do, depending.
How about you, me, and Annie doing like a big one in Bristol City play Sunderland?
We will do that. We will do that then. That's a deal day.
And then I'll be cursing Nathan if he's right about Bristol City getting to the final.
Pays me to say if I can just see it.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to the league reunion, Reese. Especially, you should have lost Brom today, and somehow you're looking at a draw at the end. So, yeah, just one thing to remember: Liverpool are now the most successful club in England, not Man United anymore.
If tomorrow is the most disgusting 0-0 of all time, I will run laps around Ashton Gate. I will. Yeah, it would be the most beautiful thing ever.
I'm going to ask you this one. Will you run it naked?
No, I'm not going to run it naked.
You should do. Hey!
And he's smart here. He knows not to have this get clipped on YouTube.
It was more a figure of speech. I don't think we'll get anything tomorrow, but if we do, I will be very, 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 very pleased.
Right,
you got to love it, to be fair.
Fair. Yeah. Well, I will say that this as well. As I said, I'll be back on with the Saturday show next Saturday.
So announced Leeds 1, Bristol City 1. Leeds score 97th minute.
Hey, it's not going to be that. It ain't
Go.
going to be that next Saturday. It's going to be bloody more about Doug next Saturday, which I'm going to have to, he'll be more.
Yeah, congratulations, Doug, if you're watching this.
Yeah. So I will not hear such pain of words. Still believe of yeah.
Yeah, shame they went beneath bloody Newcastle United at Wembley. No, I'm not going to let that go.
Yeah, I know you're not gonna let it go, guys. I know you're let it go. But like I said, I'm back on next weekend, or weekend, and hopefully the final day of the championship season next Sunday at 8:00 in the evening, and then Saturday back on the Sunday before Saturday show at 11:00, which will have Doug will be just enjoying himself. Hopefully he's gonna be sober enough after tonight. So, and maybe the next couple of days we'll see. But yeah. But like I said, that's all we've got time for. We'll see you guys next week. All have a good week and take care for now. And we'll see you again. Bye bye.